All right, let's rock and roll. So we're on day 3, and we will talk for a minute about sort of recap from last class. I know you're sort of getting into the process of like getting on Zoom, figuring out lectures, figuring out YouTube videos when I send them to you, and then all that kind of stuff. So if you're feeling a little bit like, oh my God, things are coming at me from a bunch of different directions, I totally get it. And we'll get into a rhythm soon enough. So before I kind of kick off with my stuff, questions, comments, concerns, anything we want to sort of circle back on from last class or that has happened in the group chat in the meantime? Regan, did you get my email? I mean, it kind of depends on when you send it. I've been in and out of email a little bit today.
Smart goal.
Oh, as in, did I get the email about your SMART goal? I did. That is the one thing I haven't opened up and given a bunch of feedback on yet. So I'll get to you. I got it from most of you, which was great. And then the other thing we were sort of going to circle back on from last class was if you had questions about learning activity 2.1, 2.4, or 2.7. 2.7 was kind of like the write a SMART goal homework. So that one I'll circle back on. The sort of most important one for the exam would be 2.1. Making sure that we've properly labeled all of that. Of course, the information's in the textbook, right? Cool. All right, awesome. If nobody's going to jump in from there, let's talk about day 3.
I have one question regarding last week's module. For the brain, I have problem remembering all these words, and then I thought about like what I did was try to find a YouTube video about, like explaining about the brain, and maybe some videos are for kids, so it's easy to understand. And then I watch over and over. So, like someone said, I can't remember, but if you encounter 8 times in the same word, then you start to remember. So that's what I'm trying to do. And I do know that from this point forward, we are going to do lots of other terminology like muscle and stuff like that. And I'm like, I never learned that in English here. So I'm like, oh my God, right? So if you have any tips in remembering all this stuff, because you've been teaching this so many times, so that would be really great.
Sure. So this section's a little bit unique because I think I was saying it to the day class here. This is interesting information for us to know as trainers. When it comes to, if we understand the science of neurobiology, it's going to inform how we coach. But amygdala, cingula, ventral striatum, ventral medial prefrontal cortex, those words never come out of my mouth when I talk to my clients.
Yeah.
Completely unnecessary for them. So I think what you want to look at is from the perspective of the exam, the first page in the textbook has the key terms. Those are probably going to be multiple choice questions because those are easy things to ask multiple choice questions about. So an example would be the ventral striatum is A, the site in the brain for lust and strong emotions and addiction. B, a part of the brain that's responsible for higher executive function, planning, learning, and development. C, the Latin name for your kneecap, right? Like the answer is A. So there's parts of this section that you need to know to write the exam, but then it can fall out of your head because you're never really going to need that again. What you're going to need when you're a trainer is, it's January. I have a brand new client. They've been sedentary for the last 8 months. They want to lose weight. and they're like, okay, Toko, tell me everything I need to go. No pain, no gain. Give me a meal plan. I'm going to eat chicken and brown rice for a year, you know, and then you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Based on what I've learned about neurobiology, that doesn't make sense. Let's start by drinking more water and have a salad with your lunch instead of fries. And let's work out a couple times a week. Let's take it easy. Right? That's it. That's what being a trainer is going to look like. Not, well, based on what I know about the ventral medial prefrontal cortex, let me tell you, glucose fuels the executive motor function planning of the brain, but right? You know, like, so like when it comes to the exam, if you're someone who likes flashcards, or if you're someone who likes to take notes, or if you're someone who is going to download the picture in the learning activity and label it, great. That'll help you pass the exam. After that, I'm telling you, you're not going to use it from the perspective of this chapter. We're going to learn things that we're going to use. We're not going to use these brain words again. So I wouldn't learn it in the same way. Does that make sense? So the takeaway is kind of like that first page in the chapter has a bunch of keywords and it has a little introductory, you know, paragraph about this is what you need to know for this section. Just be really comfortable with that page of terms and that sort of quick review for the exam. And then take the practice exam a bunch of times. Like you told me you took it once, you didn't like the score you got. That's fine. Take it like 15 times. It's okay. That'll be enough to get you through the hoop of the 70% that's required. Is that fair? Yeah. I promise I've never said the word amygdala to a client ever. And I've been doing this for a long time. So it's like, you know, you'll then take away the practical application after that. Yeah.
And Toko, I just want to add, when we do get into the muscles, if you are feeling overwhelmed with all the information, what helped me learn them was just learning one muscle a day, like focusing really on one muscle a day, looking up different videos and what the muscle does. And that helped me. Just take small steps at a time to gain all the knowledge. You don't need to right away.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh my God, that sounds exactly like implementing a new exercise program and a healthier lifestyle. Just take one small step. And then when you feel comfortable with that one, take the next small step. Great coaching, Renee. Nice work.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, Regan, absolutely. Open her up.
Okay. I don't know if it is my mic working?
Yeah, we got you.
Sorry, my dog needs to go out for a second.
Well, now I'm gonna want to see a picture of your dog.
Sorry. Okay. For activity 2.4, it was just the first line. It's like the understanding the change in motivation models one.
Yeah.
It says that it takes 6 months of adherence to get to this stage of change, and I wasn't quite sure which one that would be.
Sure. The answer is maintenance.
Okay.
So 6 months of adherence in the action phase will then get you to maintenance.
Okay.
Because at that point, it's like you've established the habit, and now it's just sort of like, oh, well, this is just now how I maintain my lifestyle. Like I'm now used to it. Like I'm going to get to the point where now I'm grumpy if I don't get my workout in 3 times a week or whatever.
Okay. Awesome. That was all.
Great.
Thank you.
All right. Cool. Okay, so then what we're going to talk about today is the interview section, and this is kind of wrapping up motivation system and psychology. And the reality is you've already had a great look at this, especially those of you that came over, because we spent a bunch of time literally working through an interview. We had 10 questions. We asked 4 people. We talked about open-ended questions and all that stuff. So what I've done with the interview slides is taken a little bit of what PTA Global has to offer, but then I've also added in some stuff that's a little bit more related to what we see on the fitness world side. Because essentially what it's going to come down to is however you work as a trainer, whether you work for Fitness World in Nanaimo, whether you train people online, whether you do your own thing at a small gym, private studio, big gym, rec center, whatever, all we're really trying to say is you should have an intake process of some kind. right? Like name, phone number, email, what's your goal? How can I help you, right? At least like some kind of movement assessment. Like you've got to have some kind of intake. When you go and work for a bigger company, or when you go work for a studio that has that in place, when you get hired, they'll teach you what their intake is. And then it'll be your job to learn it and practice it so that you can do a good job of delivering it. If you work for yourself, you should create one. So with what we do with business coaching, if we have students that just want to work on their own after our program, we offer help building an intake process or building a business structure for them if they feel like they need that assistance, right? So we're going to show you the PDQ, which is the PTA global version, and we're going to look at the goal questionnaire, which was what you've already seen in terms of the Fitness World version, as examples of intakes. But the theory would apply to any intake at all, right? So then however it is you do your interview and your intake, great. It's sort of like, these are the best practices for how to make that work successfully. So that's kind of what we'll talk about here. I tend to talk about the Fitness World one because I've been using it for the last 7 years and I like it. That doesn't mean it's the only right one and nothing else is going to work, right? I like taking the theory and applying it to something that I can give you a practical explanation about. So we're going to head through that stuff, and it's kind of nice to pull back in some of the interviewing skills from day 2 and some of the rapport building stuff from day 1. So it kind of gives a little bit of a cap on motivation. So let's take a look. Okay, so one of the things I like to pre-frame here, and this kind of comes from how I onboard a trainer. Like if I'm running the fitness team at a gym and I hire a trainer, I like to have some agreement or some sort of like agreed upon expectations, okay? And so one of the things that I like to do is just sort of talk about like, okay, how are we gonna define success? Like when I hire somebody, it's because I see in them the potential to be successful. And when I run a gym, I also want to think about how to help my members and my clients achieve success, right? So what we talk about in this whole first week and in sort of how we do service and sales training in general is that my philosophy is we want a win-win situation, okay? So I want you to have a successful career as a personal trainer. And part of what that means is make a living. So you want some kind of dependable income and security. And I also want you to have a purposeful job, which really in our industry means you get rewarded in more ways than just money, right? So I want to make money, I want to pay my bills, and I want to be able to, you know, go on a trip once a year and buy nice shoes because I'm a trainer. I want nice shoes, right? But I also want more than that. I want to feel fulfilled and satisfied, and I want to make a difference, and I want to help people, and I want to change lives, right? So it's, when we look at fitness, there's lots of jobs you could do where you make money, but some of them aren't very fulfilling. We want to really find fulfillment in what we're doing. So that's the first win. The second win is, well, we want to have a positive impact on our members and our clients' lives. And really, when we work in fitness, we're sort of signing up to be battling against this worldwide obesity, chronic illness, and inactivity epidemic, right? The levels of obesity have risen steadily since the 1950s. The amount of money people spend on healthcare has risen steadily since that time. The number of chronic illnesses people live with, and they just think that's normal, they take pills for it and they carry on with their lives, has risen incredibly. And we've also got all types of mental health issues like depression and anxiety and all that kind of stuff. And so we have to sort of take that personally. We have to care about that stuff, because when you get fit and when you get healthy and when you learn how to manage your stress and when you implement exercise as a balanced part of your lifestyle, you feel better, you live longer, you are healthier, right? So what we try to do is live that lifestyle and then share it with passion. And that's a big part of how we coach, is like, we've all had an experience of what our lives were like before fitness, or we got injured, or we stepped away from it, or we got sick or whatever. And then we have this experience of like, here's where I'm at now, and this is why it's so important to me, right? So helping people reach their goals and improve their health and wellness, having an inspired fitness lifestyle where community and connection fuel long-term fitness participation and success, that to me is the other big win, right? So I want to make money and I want to be fulfilled by my job, but I also really want to make a positive impact on the people that I work with so that like I make a difference, right? So everything we talk about then in terms of service, science, and sales should fit inside of those definitions of success, right? I don't want you to be really good at your job, but kill yourself because you're doing it for free and you're exhausted, right? And I also want to make sure that like the work that we do is actually long-term beneficial versus here's your 16 weeks of chicken and brown rice and create a negative relationship with food based on body dysmorphia and a sport that you don't know how to regulate yourself. You know what I mean? There's a right way to do that and there's a whole lot of wrong when it comes to that. So we want to be accountable to a win-win situation, right? So if you agree with me on that, great. You might have your own sort of nuanced version of it, but hopefully in general, we agree in the win-win. So as we sort of recap what we've learned so far this week and we pull it all together into the interview, we started off on day one by saying, hey, your first impression matters, right? So if we did a quick recap on sort of the actionables around a first impression, well, smiling is really big. And it's so funny because now we're all wearing masks, right? So I'm smiling under my mask and the person can't see me. And so I'm trying to find, I don't know, do I draw a smile on? Do I raise my eyebrows? Like, how is it that I'm going to create that same, positive first impression? But it's funny now that smiling is gone. All of a sudden you realize how easy it made that impression, right? I'm smiling, I like you. So we sort of got to work a little harder at it right now, but the idea is still there. We also talked on day one about mirroring, right? So body language and rate of speech and the words that our clients were using. We wanted to sort of speak those same words back to them. So looking for those opportunities to mirror, right? And then this one to me is really important. Having high expectations of our clients and our members and our team members and our coworkers. I think that's so important. Again, I always forget if I had told you guys or another group or if it was the last intake, but I remember listening to a podcast and the gentleman being interviewed was a Black preacher who lived in a very poor neighborhood. And yet his congregation had a lot of really successful youth that were going on to college and coming back and working, right, making a difference. And someone asked him, well, what's your secret? And he's like, I have high expectations of every single one of them. Like, I expect them to go to school. I expect them to put in the work to educate themselves. I expect them to go ask for help and chase opportunities and show up and volunteer. And so they do, right? I don't let them get away with the excuses of like, oh, I don't have a dad at home, so that's why I turned to a life of drugs and crime. He's like, no, I have a higher expectation of you. So when we do that for our clients as well, the idea is that while we have a bunch of knowledge, we can't actually do it for them. They have to do it. So when I agree to work with someone, I'm going to give them simple things to start on so that they can start to build success and feel motivated. But the simpler the thing is that I'm expecting them to do, the higher my expectation is that it gets done. Right? So if I say, I want you to show up 5 minutes early and walk on the treadmill at a speed of 3.0, and then come and meet me at the training desk so you can sign in when we get started, that is a very easy request. I'm asking you to come 5 minutes early and walk on the treadmill. So I'm going to have zero tolerance around that not getting done. And when I say zero tolerance, I mean in a friendly way, right? So because you're brand new, I'm asking you to do something very simple, but I have a very high expectation that it gets done. When we start our session, I'm going to start showing you some of the components of a dynamic workout or a dynamic warm-up. But because that's a harder thing to do, it's more complicated, there's more complexity to it, I am going to take the responsibility for that part getting done until we've been working together for a few weeks. And then I might say, come 10 minutes early, walk on the treadmill for 5 and foam roll your legs for 5, just like I've showed you, right? So now, because I've showed it to them a bunch of times, I'm going to have a similarly high expectation that they can do this easy thing they know how to do. but I'm taking responsibility for their execution. If I start off with a brand new client, I say, come half an hour early, walk on the treadmill, do an interval program, do your foam rolling and do your dynamic stretching, and then meet me to get the session started, forget about it. How could I possibly have a high expectation that they're going to know how to do that? Right? So the expectation has to match their ability, their willingness, their desire, their understanding of why it's important. But if I hold high expectations every time, I see them perform better than if I'm like, oh, no, you don't have to do that. I'll help you. Oh, no, you don't have to do that. I'll help you. Same goes with like cleaning up the gym and putting equipment away and wiping down my machines when I use them, right? I'm not your slave. I don't have to clean up after you, but I will show you where the cleaning stuff is, and I will ingrain in you the habit that you clean it before you touch it, and then you clean it again after, right? So that all kind of fits in around creating for somebody the standards that they are now going to carry forward after having worked with you, right? We do it in an empowering and positive way, but nonetheless, it's important if we're going to give them the confidence it takes to show up in the gym space by themselves and be successful, right? Okay, number 4, expressing genuine interest. I think that makes sense. We've got to care about the person we work with if we're going to work with them and help them achieve success. So like one of my rules is if you don't want to work with the person, don't. If you don't like them, help them find somebody else that they click with, right? And that's not to say that we can't work with difficult clients, right? I think I shared with you all the story of my director client. He was difficult, but I still cared about him. He was a pain in the ass and he stressed me out sometimes, but it still really mattered to me that we managed his cholesterol and we helped him manage his stress and we helped him achieve some weight loss, right? That still mattered to me. So that's fine. They can be hard, but you still have to care. And if you don't care, you shouldn't train them. I think that's a standard we should hold when we work with people, okay? Get on a first name basis, that's obvious. So it's not necessarily always about clients, but even just members at the gym. If we get on a first name basis with members at the gym, it shows fondness, and that can lead to the opportunity to do more work with them in the future. And when we're getting to know people, when we're working at a club, Toko, for example, you're going to be shadowing some sessions and, you know, learning a little bit about the gym and maybe helping clean some things up and stuff like that. You want people to get to know you. You want them to think well of you, respect you, think that you have, you know, valuable things to offer. One of the really awesome ways to start to build that relationship is just to give genuine compliments. Right? But not flattery. Like, we want to be sincere. So if I say to you, oh my God, those shoes are so cool, I mean it. I will never tell you that if they're like pink and sparkly, because that wouldn't be genuine to me. I'll find something else to compliment about you. Like, oh my God, you have a beautiful smile. Right? But like, if we give genuine compliments, people can feel that. And it shows that we're paying attention, and it shows that we're trying to create connection. Okay? So you can kind of sum it all up by saying, if you make somebody feel important by doing all of those things above, that's going to be a way to really create a positive impression and have something to build on in the relationship, right? Now, what I love out of what's on this page is if you kind of take a step back and think about, well, what do I have to be feeling to show up and offer those 6 things? I have to love my job. I have to like the team that I work with. I have to be proud of the facility that I work in. Like, in general, if I feel really good about the work that I do and I'm excited to get up every day and go to work, it's easy to do those 6 things, right? So our ability to show up and be the best that we can be is actually tied to like getting the support that we need in that space. So this is where I make a little bit of a pitch for when you're a new trainer. I highly believe you should work on a team, because as you're learning, it's a little bit stressful to have to try to apply new things, right? If you work on a team of people that have some experience and can help you and support you a little bit, and when you show up to work, you in general get smiles and high fives and like, hey, have an awesome day, right? If you work in that kind of environment, think about how much better you're going to feel than if you have to get there and open the doors and turn on the lights and answer the phone and check the email and, oh my God, the toilet paper's out, and oh my God, everything that's happening is my responsibility. It is possible. Don't get me wrong. It is possible, but it's harder, right? So if this has been my experience. I worked in a big gym. I ran my own studio. I was successful, but I found it really difficult. And then I went back to working in a big gym and I'm like, oh my God, this is so much better. Because for me, being able to smile and give genuine compliments and all the stuff on that list, I was good at that as long as I could manage what I was responsible for, right? So if I show up to work and the doors are already open and the lights are already on, and the music's already playing, and the person at the front desk is like, hey, Logan, have an awesome day. I can smile, I can give compliments, I can care, right? So like something to think about is like, if we have to be kind of like a pretty awesomely best version of ourselves to be a great trainer, well, then what's the support that I need to show up as like my awesomely best self? I got to eat right. I got to exercise. But like for me, I also want to be on a team because it helps me do the parts of my job that help me build connection so much better. Right? So, okay, personal preference, but like a little bit of a pitch on teamwork, because as a trainer, who charges my batteries? I'm there to charge my clients' batteries. I'm there to support them in every way I can. Who supports me? Please don't say your husband or your wife. That's not their job, right? Like your team, the people that do the same work you do. So that's kind of my pitch for teams, because I literally see it help you just do your work better because you don't have a bunch of other work to do in parallel to serving your clients. Does that make sense? All right, you'll decide whether you agree with me or not, but that's my pitch for teams. All right, moving on. Here we go. Okay, so I think I said this to you in class. This one to me is a big one. Even though you're the subject matter expert, even though you know things, even though people are coming to you for help, I really believe in communicating with humility, as in it doesn't matter who's right. It matters what's right to the client, right? So my little quote there is, take what your father-in-law says at the wedding for the speech. You can be right or you can be married. Well, I switched it around so you can be right or you can be hired. So we want to think a little bit about, if we show up to serve our clients, then what they think matters. And if we show up to tell people what to do, then maybe we don't really pay attention to what they think is right, and we sort of miss out on the opportunity to help some people. So in my mind, that's pretty important, okay? All right. What that extends to mean is, especially in the areas around science and behavior change, it doesn't really serve us to argue. So when we're doing an intake, when we're doing an interview, we're trying to get to know this person, but they're also trying to get to know us. So if the first time Toko and I ever meet, she's talking a little bit about how important mobility is for her Olympic weightlifting, and I'm like, yeah, but you're not strong enough. You need more core stability. You need more strength. You need more total body tension. Like, I have to teach you how to irradiate. It doesn't matter that I'm right at this moment. She's not going to feel good. She's not going to feel very supported by that, right? So in the interview, in the intake process, you don't need to prove how smart or educated you are. We're not at that stage yet. What's more important is that you are starting a relationship. So showing that you can respect what the client believes and help them identify why they believe it, reassuring them that they're going to be safe with you, both physically and emotionally. Like, I don't want you to get hurt squatting, but I also don't want to hurt your feelings, like, because I'm going to yell at you, come on, 5 more. Like, that might not be safe for you, right? So, is it more important to be right or effective? Well, at the end of the day, I think our job is to be effective in helping them reach their goal. So there's a lot of human relational stuff that shows up in that. If we go back to understanding that we're going to communicate with humility, I think it makes it a lot easier. I don't have to be right. I want to be right for you, right? Okay, so, this is a slightly old slide. That's okay. So the PTA Global version of the interview is the program design questionnaire. If you've gone through the videos, you would have seen them talk about it a little bit. It's just another list of questions. The Fitness World interview is the goal assessment. So for those of you that came over on Saturday, we worked on the green sheet. It's just a different set of questions, okay? So again, I'm not really married to what intake or interview you use, but I do think it's helpful to have something that's standardized, okay? So the reason why we use a questionnaire, right? The reason why we bring that into the intake, Asking questions actually elicits an emotional response, right? We talked a lot about the why is important, like why they're going to go to the effort of changing their behavior is because it's important to them, right? So one, asking questions elicits an emotional response, trust, rapport, safety. In addition to that, we get an extensive amount of personal information that we can then use to make our professional recommendation. So if you were here on Saturday, we had both data gathering questions and we also had emotional questions. And we'll see the same kind of split on the PDQ as we keep going here, okay? So a couple reminders on interviews. We want to use open-ended questions, okay? Unless we're trying to narrow things down, in which case we might ask them to select between 2 or 3 options, okay? We want to affirm and support. So being mindful of our body language, our tone of voice, making eye contact, showing that we're listening attentively, right? We also want to demonstrate concern. So especially as we create that emotional platform and people maybe start to share things that they're afraid of or uncomfortable with or things that they don't like, we got to hold that information gently, right? And then part of the goal of the interview is to be able to turn around and then summarize, right? So paraphrasing, showing understanding and using their words, those are really useful to establish clarity and build agreement, right? So again, the difference between I want to gain lean muscle mass versus I want to get lean and tone. Arguably, they could be the same thing, but our ability to use the language that's meaningful to them is going to create connection. Okay, and then the empathetic listening, again, we did a fair bit on that in the sense of understanding the importance of that. So that's kind of the space we want to be in as we step into the interview. Additionally, remember the 4 temperaments. So if you start picking up on somebody's social style, if you remember the do's, like, oh, I'm picking up that this person's a director. So what I want to do is be clear and direct and concise, not tell a bunch of stories and get sidetracked and fail to address their concerns, right? So remembering the 4 temperaments can help. And then again, the rate of speech and the tone of voice and the body language and the eye contact, kind of trying to match them. So if I'm really on eye contact and I notice that the person I'm talking to like spends more time looking away, I don't want them to look. They're building equipment. I don't want them to look up at me and see me like staring at them super intensely every time they look at me, right? But if when they're talking to me, they make lots of eye contact, well, I want to make that eye contact. So I don't want to spend the whole time looking down at my piece of paper. So we want to be able to match to that a little bit, okay? So wrapping that up into a couple of do's and don'ts. When we do the questionnaire, focus the conversation completely on the benefit to the member. So sometimes I watch trainers try to create rapport and be friendly by talking about themselves a lot. It's not a super great strategy. One, we don't really want to spend the entire hour talking to them. We want to maybe gather information for 10 to 12 minutes. And 2, like, yes, I'm aspirational. I know some things, right? But that's not really the point right now. So if in the interview, if you talk 10% of the time and they talk 90% of the time, that's probably good. That's kind of the right balance. So you're just asking enough questions to keep the conversation moving. And then outside of that, you get to gather information. So then at that point, listen attentively without interrupting. And sometimes just getting them talking means they can arrive at their own conclusions, right? So if we're talking about weight loss and I'm asking you a little bit about what's worked for you in the past, or what's your timeline, or what obstacles, or what does food intake look like for you day to day? Like, you might even, just because I asked that question, you might go, oh yeah, you know what? In order to lose weight, I'm going to need some help with my diet. I'm not telling you need help with your diet. I'm asking questions and I'm allowing you to come to that conclusion. Yeah, you know what? I think having some help with nutrition would really help me reach my goal, right? So that can be really helpful. And then what we want to avoid is, we're not going to argue or confront them. We're not going to interrupt. We definitely don't want to speak more than we listen. And again, this is not the time to talk on and on and on about the services and the education and the qualifications that we have, right? So if you've had an experience in the past where someone's been talking to you and they're doing all the don'ts, you know how awful that feels, right? Whether it was a date or whether it was like an interview, right? Like we've all had experiences where like, oh my God, that was too much. So we take those little lessons and that sort of helps us go, okay, well, in order to provide a better service experience, I'm going to listen, I'm going to ask questions, I'm going to pay attention, I'm going to nod, I'm going to paraphrase, I'm going to match them and mirror them a little bit, and that's going to make them have a really great experience. That's kind of what we're looking for. Okay. All right. I think I added something in here. Yeah. So there's one other thing that they talk about in the PDQ that we really didn't bring up anywhere yet, and that's buzzwords. So buzzwords are words or phrases that they're the most emotional about, or that they tend to repeat, things that they say often. On the PDQ, which I'll show you a picture of in a minute, there's actually a box to list these. And if you're using any other type of interview sheet that doesn't have that, I just think it's worth writing it down on the top of the sheet or on the side of the margin or something. Like write those buzzwords in a place where you can reference them quickly. So examples of that would be buzzwords. So again, they're things that sort of have an emotional connection. So I'll give you an example from a client that I just started working with again last week. We used to work together, and then she was away for a year, and now she's back. And some of the buzzwords that I wrote down on my green sheet initially, it's been a year. She's still saying them. She says things like, I want to be able to trust my body. So when she's talking about gaining strength and improving her balance, she wants to be able to trust her body. So when she goes for a walk, she wants to be able to walk on gravel without worrying that she's going to wobble and trip and fall, right? So I use the word trust a lot when I'm training her. So for example, I'll say something like, okay, we're going to do the leg press. What I want you to do is sit up really nice and tall. Make sure your back is nice and flat against the chair behind you. What that means is your brain is going to trust that your spine is in a safe position, right? And so she's geared around that word, trust. Or I taught her a new move today. It's called a cable pull through. And she was like, oh my God, that looks hard and sort of inappropriate. And I just kind of laughed. I said, don't worry, I'm going to show you what it looks like so that you'll trust that it's safe, right? Like I purposefully use the word trust with her a lot. I don't say trust with any other client. That's not a word that I use, but it's a word that I use for her, right? So that would be an example. Other things could be like let's say someone's like, I really want to lose some weight. I want to improve my health because my daughter just had a baby and I want to be able to help, I want to be able to help my daughter with the grandkids. And like, as the baby grows up and can play and do sports and whatever, I want to be involved. I want to be an involved grandparent. I don't want to sit on the sideline with my cane, I want to be playing with them at the playground and we can pass the ball back and forth in the backyard, right? Like I want to be involved. So we get into the workout and I say, okay, we're going to do a reverse lunge. This is a really good exercise for lower body strength and balance. And what it's when we build up our confidence with this movement, think about how this is going to translate to being able to be involved with your grandkids and getting down on the ground and playing with them, right? So I'm using that same emotional quality to be like, listen, lunges are kind of hard, but we're going to do them because they're going to link to this desire that you have, which is to be an involved grandparent. So these words might not particularly stand out to you because I'm not using words that have emotional load for you, but imagine if what you think about for why you work out the way you do, you have a way of explaining it. If someone was like, tell me a little bit about your workout experience, or what kind of workout do you do? Or, hey, Renee, like, you've really turned your life around. You work out all the time. Tell me a little bit about that experience. Like, we're going to say the things we say about ourselves in a somewhat repetitive way. And when we find what those words are that people use to explain themselves or to sort of represent themselves, we want to try to make a note of those words, right? Does that kind of make sense? Here's the thing though, if you don't write them down, because they might not mean anything to you, you're not necessarily going to remember them. So it becomes really important to take notes of those words, because to you, they might not mean anything. But if we write them down and we start to get it into our head, like when I open Michelle's client file folder, I see trust right there at the top, and I'm like, all right, trust. Okay, I'm going to use that word today. So it's really important to take notes on buzzwords, because we're not just going to remember words that are meaningless to us, right? Okay. Cool. Final tips. Assuming that what happens is the person walks in the door, you meet them, and sort of the first thing you're supposed to do is the questionnaire. Don't jump too quickly into it, especially if you've got someone who's kind of amiable, right? A director, maybe, they might just want to get right to it. But the expressive, the amiable, like start with a little bit of small talk, right? Break the ice, maybe use a little bit of humor, give them a genuine compliment. That's going to be really helpful. I learned this in leadership. I was going around to all these different clubs and I had meetings with managers. And when I first went in, I would walk in and be like, okay, how's the business going? Like, walk me through your coaching plan for this week. And then my boss, who was coming with me to the club tour, said, hey, let me do the next one. And I was like, okay, cool. So they walked in, hey, Tony, how are you? How are the kids? Tell me a little bit more about, like, she spent like 5 minutes just talking about his life. And then she was like, okay, cool. What are your intentions for our meeting today? What do you want to make sure you get out of working with me? And he was like, actually, I really want to, touch base on this and this and this. Great. Okay. She made a note. And then she's like, okay, walk me through your business. And I was like, oh my God, that was like so much better. Right? So we've got to do the same thing with clients, right? Maybe it's just like, how was the traffic? Or, oh my God, it was raining. I hope you remembered an umbrella. Like, we just got to find a way to like ease them in a little bit. Okay. Also, let them know you're going to take notes, right? So, hey, I'm just going to write down what you're saying. I really want to make sure that I get down what is important to you, and that the session that we do today is therefore going to be a good fit for you, right? And again, writing down their buzzwords, but you might want to practice like taking bullet point notes. You're not going to write down the entire sentence they say, because if you were to actually try to write it out, it takes longer to write it than say it, right? So if I'm trying to write down everything they say, I'm behind, and now I'm missing what they're saying, and now I'm never looking up and making eye contact. I'm just like, I'm going to get a hand cramp trying to write everything down. So sometimes what we have to do is just kind of practice what's the short form that we're going to use to communicate with ourselves later when we go back and look at the sheet. Right? So if someone says, I really want to lose weight, especially around my midsection, because I'm finding I'm not fitting into my clothes very well, and it's like stressing me out and I can't have any of that. What I would have written down is lose weight /inches. That's enough. I get it. Right? So we might need to practice that sort of shorthand a little bit. Okay. The PTA Global slide says listen 70% of the time and talk 30. I even usually just say 90-10. So the more they're talking, the better as we go through this first little bit, okay? All right, so the PDQ is a little bit of a different questionnaire. When we're in class, usually what I have everybody do is use it the same way we used the green sheet, so that we have an opportunity to go through like a second round of questions. But let's pull it up, and I'll just do it with one of you, so that we can kind of have a little bit of a look at it. What do I want here? PDQ, there it is. All right, cool. Annika, does your mic work? Do you want to do the role play with me? Yeah, let's do that.
I don't know if it works. Do you hear me?
I can hear you.
Perfect.
No problem. Okay, cool. So I'm not going to take notes because I don't want to type and make noise on top of the video. But for you listening, if you want to take notes, it might be a good way to practice sort of being able to go short form. We're going to go through this little 2-page questionnaire, Annika. And that's going to help me figure out what to do with you today and how to make sure that you get what you came for. And depending on what we do as the next step for you, If I'm writing a program for you or something like that, it'll also give me the information that I need to be able to do a good job of that. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So the stuff at the top, name, telephone, email, I really hope that I get that information ahead of time just from like their member file. That's common enough in today's day and age, which means I get to start off just by saying, okay, awesome, let's sit down over here, and we'll get this going. So step one, what I want to know is, what are your expectations of the next hour? What do you want to make sure that we get done together today, you and I?
I want you to be able to show me how to safely lose weight.
Okay. Awesome. So tell me a little bit more about that. Do you want to look at how to perform exercise safely? Do you want to make sure that we can talk a little bit about good nutrition practices? Like, what do you think is going to be the most useful?
Probably nutrition.
Okay. So I know you just signed up as a new member at the gym, so that's awesome. Were you working out somewhere else before, or is this sort of new to you in terms of like exercise and stuff like that?
This is new.
Cool. Okay. Awesome. Well, I'll tell you, my goal would be for us to at least do a little bit of a workout together today, because I kind of want to give you an introduction to the gym and make sure that you feel comfortable. And obviously exercise is going to be a part of weight loss, right? But we'll touch on some nutrition stuff as well, so that you kind of have a sense of a little bit of both. How does that sound?
That sounds good.
Okay, awesome. So I want to make sure I get it. You would say the outcome that you want to experience as a result of getting started with exercise is primarily weight loss. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know how much weight you'd like to lose?
Around 15 to 20 pounds.
Okay, awesome. And do you have a time frame where you want to achieve that? Do you have a milestone or a special event coming up, or is there a time frame for that?
By the new year, looking at maybe 12 to 16 weeks as soon as possible, but doing
Yeah.
it healthily.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really good. That's doable, and to do it safely, to do it over that period of time is gonna really just mean it's easier to sustain it. So that's awesome. Cool. Okay. So let's talk about your workouts just a little bit. I know you're somewhat new to this, so answer based on your best guess. If it ends up that we feel a little bit differently by the time we practice some exercise, that's fine. We can always make that adjustment. But make your best guess. Do you think you're going to feel better if you have some freedom in your workouts, or do you feel like you're really going to enjoy having some structure to follow?
I would like structure. I like to follow strict programs, I guess.
Okay, awesome.
Routine.
Great. Okay, awesome. So just FYI, guys, I would write down routine as a buzzword. She came kind of punchy with that. So I'm going to be like, okay, cool. So from now on, I'm going to call this your routine, because that's going to speak to her. Okay. When you need to reduce stress, do you typically enjoy things that are exciting and adventurous that sort of give you a chance to blow off steam? Or do you like to do things that are more practical and relaxing? What would you say?
More fun. Get my mind off of things.
Okay. Give me an example of something you do for fun to help with your stress.
Take my dog to the park or to the beach.
Okay, nice. And do you just go for a nice walk, or are you like running, throwing a ball back and forth? Like, what would that look like?
Yeah, throwing the ball in the water, going in with her.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah.
What kind of dog do you have?
Border collie.
Oh, wow. They're super active, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. That sounds like that's some good exercise.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. And so just to clarify again on the routine part, do you enjoy exercise more when it's consistent and you're sort of doing the same thing each week, or do you think that what you want to do is sort of have it be a little bit different all the time with some variety?
I would like to be kind of the same. Maybe a couple different things each day.
Okay, cool. Awesome. All right, that's really helpful. That helps me kind of figure out how to create a program that you're going to feel comfortable and enjoy following. So that's awesome. All right, next step. I want to talk a little bit more about kind of what you've been doing in the last little while, sort of figure out what level we want to be starting at. So how regularly do you participate in physical activity? Is it 3 or 4 times a month? Is it 2 to 3 times a week? Or is it sort of like most days you're doing something physically active?
Most days taking my dog on a walk.
Okay. And in terms of doing like cardio or weightlifting or like an exercise class or something like that, have you done any of that in the last little while?
Some dumbbell weightlifting.
Okay. You have some dumbbells at home?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Are there any types of exercises or equipment that you really like using? Any types of like the stuff you've been doing at home? Are there any that you really enjoy?
I like resistance bands. Those are good.
Okay. What types of exercises do you do with resistance bands?
Lots of arm stuff with resistance.
Okay, cool.
Like
Go ahead.
attaching it to something and doing rows or
Nice.
doing curls with them.
Okay, awesome. Do you like it when you get like a little bit of an arm pump feeling?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, cool. So then besides doing some workouts at home and walking your dog, are there any other types of physical hobbies or recreational activities that you've been involved in say, the last 3 or 4 months?
Not really, no.
Okay, cool. Awesome. That's a great place to start from. So that's really helpful. So last thing then, just kind of circling back on your goal, what I really want to understand is a little bit more about your motivation. So why would you say achieving some weight loss is important to you? Why is that something that you want to focus on?
I struggled with it since I was a kid and kind of always had that issue, and yeah,
Okay.
something I've just struggled with for a long time.
Okay.
I want to look better for myself mostly.
Okay. So let's kind of fast forward a little bit. Let's say we go 12 to 16 weeks out and we've achieved sort of that 10 to 15 pounds of weight loss. What do you think is going to be different in your life? How are you going to feel, or what are you going to do differently once you've achieved that goal?
I'll be a lot more confident, be able to wear the clothing that I want to without feeling insecure or feeling like people are looking at me.
Okay. And so do you have like an outfit in mind? Do you have some clothes in the back of the closet you don't fit into? Or do you think about it more in the sense of like how you show up and spend time with other people? What do you think is more important?
I don't worry about that so much when I'm with friends, but I worry about other people. So more, like I would love to wear crop tops, but I don't feel confident wearing those out in public.
Okay, cool. All right, I'm gonna make a note of that. Maybe that's like a target outfit that we have in mind as we're working out is a specific crop top. What's your favorite color?
Blue, purple, green.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Cool. We'll keep that in mind. That's cool. So on a scale of 1 to 10 then, how important is it for you to make some changes to your life so that you can start working on achieving your goal?
10.
10. Awesome. Okay, so it's like super important. I mean, that's why you signed up for a membership yesterday, right? That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Awesome. So then on another scale, so on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that you're going to be able to do the stuff you got to do to reach your goal?
Definitely will feel confident having help from the trainer.
Okay.
With a little guidance, I think I can do good. I think,
Okay.
yeah.
So that's cool because you're sort of already recognizing that like I don't necessarily feel very confident doing it on my own, but by meeting with me today maybe, or by getting some help, that's going to increase my confidence. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So are you ready and willing to get started on a new program and to get started on learning how to exercise and stuff at this time? Are you ready to go?
Yes, I'm ready to start now.
Awesome. Okay, last question. What do you think I can do to help you? Get as specific as you want here so that I know exactly what to help you with.
Really push me.
Okay.
Even when I don't want to do it, push me to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me a little
Let
bit
me say no.
about that. When you say push you, how do you imagine that you're going to need some support and encouragement? Is it going to be in relation to exercise, or is it going to be in relation to like getting to the gym, or is it going to be in relation to nutrition? Like, what do you think is going to be the hardest part for you?
I think just sticking with the routine. So both sides of that.
Okay, cool. So do you think that you'll be excited to start and then like maybe a couple weeks in or something, it's like, oh my God, I don't know if I want to keep going? Do you see that happening?
Yeah, I would totally see that happening if I was doing this on my own.
Okay, cool. Awesome. All right. Well, is there anything else you think I need to know?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, cool. So then if you're ready, let's get out onto the gym floor and we'll kind of get into a first little workout here. How's that sound?
Awesome.
Okay, great. So that's the PDQ, slightly different version of questions. In general, a lot of similarities around the information gathered. The biggest difference for me is there's a little bit more on the motivation, emotion, confidence scale side with this one compared to those of you that did the green sheet compared to what that looked like, right? It's fine, it's good. So there's still, you can sort of hear me fill in the gaps between certain questions because I just need more information. And then at the same time, I'm using the prompts from the questions to like move on to the next thing, okay? What I'm interested to hear from you is what your feedback is about the interview. Did it feel smooth? Did it feel awkward? Was there something I did that you liked? Was there something that you wouldn't do that way? What did you pick up on from the perspective of like implementing the interview that you think might be worth mentioning here?
Hey, Logan, I just wanted to mention something. I'm not sure if it's just my social work background and I'm going to be diving in deep with people and I shouldn't be doing that. But I'm just wondering, so she mentioned at the beginning that, you know, she kept saying she wants to figure out a way to lose weight safely. Mm-hmm. And I'm just wondering if you wanted to explore that a bit to maybe identify some obstacles that she may see in the future, or some things that she's overcome, maybe identify some strengths that she has.
Yeah, so for example, on the green sheet, when we did it, there's a question that says, what kind of obstacles have you faced? Why is it important to you? What's going to be different now? It's one of the reasons why I really like that question, because yeah, it would be fairly natural for me to want to know that. So that's I kind of didn't add that in on purpose because I wanted to show you the difference between the two questionnaires. For you, based on your background, it's going to make sense to have a little bit of a dive down that rabbit hole. Maybe for a Sept who's like, I don't really know if I can relate to any of that. He just doesn't have the skill or the confidence to spend time in that subject. Fine. So for him, maybe the intake needs to be a little bit more surface. Overall, and as if I'm not making a judgment, I think you could actually be really good at it based on what we've learned about you so far. But the one thing that I would say is, as a social worker who's used to talking through stuff, keep in mind, we want to deliver a workout experience.
Yeah.
So in an hour, we want to do at least 20 to 25 minutes of working out. We want to save a little bit of time at the end to summarize and offer some kind of suggestion. That means we really only have 10 or 12 minutes. And then we're
okay.
Minutes, and then we got to go train. So
I wasn't clear on that part because I thought I read in the book that intake is like an hour, and I was like, are we really diving in like that deep with clients for intake? So
it's an hour, but it includes measurements, assessments, and a workout experience.
Okay.
Yeah. So the questionnaire is like 10 to 12 minutes.
Okay.
You may not have time to dive in super deep, and it depends. Like the more comfortable you are having conversation with people, the more likely you are to be able to draw answers out of them. But for a lot of members, a lot of clients, they're not really going to give up very much. Like we all know each other even a little bit, and we're all committed to like becoming trainers and helping people. But like a lot of people don't come into an intake that open, right? Like they're embarrassed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And they're ashamed and they don't know you and you're super fit and intimidating. So like, they're not going to give up anything, right?
Yeah.
So there's like a balance between get the information you need, start to build a little bit of a relationship, but also like get up and get moving. Because what are their expectations when they get told, hey, come in and do a free session with a trainer? They expect to sweat, work out, right? So if we talk for 47 minutes and then we're like, oh my God, we don't have very much time. Let me show you how to use the treadmill. Forget it. They're not coming back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Good point though, for sure. Yvette, anything you want to say about your impression of the interview? And even think back to Saturday, kind of like pull some feedback together about this whole thing. If it were to come down to being a trainer and using a tool like this to get to know someone and get things started, Any feedback you have or any thoughts?
It takes me forever to unmute it. I prefer this one much more because it's just a little bit more detailed.
Okay.
Just to get more out of the client, like just to get to know the client a little bit more. For me, I thought it was really smooth the way that you did it. It was really good.
Okay. Good.
Really easy to just put buzzwords like just along the way. It was really good.
Yeah, cool.
So
So if you
I prefer this one.
If you end up at Fitness World, you can take some of these questions and add them in, right?
Yeah.
Like the requirement from sort of the liability perspective is that the green sheet gets filled out, but there's nothing saying that you can't have this second
Can't add. Yeah.
add a few extra questions if you find that helps you.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. One of the reasons why Fitness World asks about nutrition and the PDQ doesn't is because a base level CPT doesn't really give you very much scope of ability around nutrition coaching, but Fitness World gives you a certification to be a nutrition coach. So then you have the scope of ability to start asking those questions. So that can sometimes be the difference as well. Especially because we know people need help on it. It is nice to have the scope, but if we don't have the scope, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Regan, what did you think?
Got it. Is it working?
Yep.
Yeah, I thought it was actually very smooth, like Yvette was saying. I liked the kind of pass back of the conversation. And I like how you mentioned like her personal life, like her dog as well, and how that incorporated exercise, because a lot of people don't realize that even walking your dog or throwing the ball for your dog is actually activity.
Yeah, totally. Awesome. Nice for catching that, because that to me is actually really intentional, because when I go back at the end and I'm talking to her about what I want her to do, I'm probably going to suggest that she works out and does some resistance training like twice a week at the gym. But like, let's not discount like taking the dog for a walk. Like that burns calories too. And it's actually a really nice way to burn off stress. And like when we talk about losing weight safely, like let's not be at the gym 2 hours every day obsessing, right? Let's do a little bit of resistance training and allow for periodization and progression to help us achieve results over time, but also like live your life. So it's nice to have some of those details because we can pull them in at the end when we're reflecting, summarizing, and then saying, okay, here's what I suggest for you. So that's always really helpful to be able to do a little bit of that. Good catch. Thank you. Toko, yeah.
Okay, for me, yeah, I agree with all of you guys. I mean, Beth and Regan, that you are not even looking at the paper, Logan. You're just so smooth.
I was actually looking at
like,
it, but it looked like I was
looking. Yeah, so for me, last Saturday I took this green one, and I was thinking like some of the words, some of the sentences, like I wouldn't be able to understand right away, like the sentence, what do you want to get out of today? And I'm like, being a second language, English is, I'm like, what is this person asking? So I was thinking I need to go over this over and over again, and I need to modify some words for myself, and then so that it will be more natural for me to come out. And so that's what I was thinking. And other than that, I don't know which one is better. I think I just have to do both and then see which one is more easy for me, which one, may help me build rapport with the client and make things more natural.
Yeah, and ultimately one thing for sure is wherever you end up working, they might have a requirement that you use something in particular. So it's you guys are very nice. You're saying it sounds nice and smooth. It's literally a function of practice. I've done the green sheet easily 20,000 times, and I've done the PD easily 5,000 times. So whatever intake you end up using, doing a bunch of reps is really important. So when I hire a new trainer, one of the things that I usually say is, you have to do 100 reps before I let you meet a client. So how are you going to get those 100? You got to do it with your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your neighbor, your partner, your neighbor. You got to do it with your teammates. So like when you're at work, sometimes there's like 5 minutes between sessions and you're just standing at the personal training desk together. You'd be like, yo, Jake, can I do the questions on you real quick? Right? So like you literally do it in the mirror, do it in the car when you're driving somewhere, like do it to your dog, whatever. But like you just have to say it out loud a bunch of times in a row, right? You just have to memorize the questions. By the time you memorize the questions, you don't have to look down as much. You get to look at the person more. And you're going to make it smooth because you're familiar with it, right? So it goes with anything. I know a lot of things, but knowing them and saying them out loud are kind of two different experiences. So I actually have to practice saying things out loud in a smooth, positive, concise, effective way, right? And so whatever intake you use, we just recommend that you practice it like 100 times. And after that, you're going to feel pretty comfortable regardless of what the actual questions on the page are, right? Cool. Sif, I don't know, can you unmute yourself and
Yeah.
share your feedback? Yeah, man, go ahead.
Yeah, seemed like more likely a conversation for me than a Q&A. Like you're just trying to really get into deep into her mind and like what she's trying to achieve. And definitely she wants to lose weight. Why does she want to lose weight? What kind of clothes she wants to wear? So these kind of things like we think about ourselves when we're alone, right? So when people are around us, we really don't feel like, okay, I see this person, I want to look like this person, or I want to wear this tights, or I want to wear this tank top. I don't want my stomach to, hang out. So we actually feel it when you're alone, probably, like in the head. Then we really can't express it to other people. So for a trainer, it's really important to ask those questions and try to feel it, being more empathetic and try to get to know like why this person is here, and if I can help this person to change his or her life. So it's a great achievement for a trainer as well. So for you, it's like, yeah, you just went through the conversation, asked her a lot of questions, just didn't try to kill a lot of things. You let her talk a lot, so which is very important for me, I think, in the first impression. So like she's gonna have a confidence in you, like, okay, this person knows what I am looking for.
Yeah, good. And the reality of this whole thing is if someone's going to hire you to be their trainer, they're going to have to show up and spend time with you, right? If they buy 10 sessions, that's 10 hours. So if you can't have conversation, if they don't feel comfortable with you, you're not going to want to spend that time with you, right? So sometimes, again, being super sciencey isn't really what people want. They want it to be fun. They want it to be comfortable. They want there to be some conversation. They want to be able to get along with you, right? So that's one of the things that we can establish in that first session is like, hey, let me show you that I can help generate comfortable conversation between the two of us, right? So we happen to be using scripted questions to do that. But my ability to bring it to life and make it authentic and make it conversational is really what's going to translate to the like, yeah, you and I can have a good time. When you're here working out, we're going to talk a little bit in between our rests, and I'm showing my skill at being able to coach you in a way that's comfortable, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks, man. Good feedback. All right, so that's the example of the program design questionnaire. So again, just another version of questions. So you can find that in the downloadable forms on your PTA Global account. And what I'd recommend is if you want to do it with someone you live with, or if you chat up in the group and say, hey, I'd really love to do the PDQ with somebody, and you jump on like a FaceTime or a Google Hangout or something, you can do it with each other this way as well. Or if you live in the same city, if you're doing your practicum stuff at the same gym, meet each other, right? And get a few of those 100 reps in right here. That'll help. They're all gonna contribute towards the skill of interviewing. One other thing that I would say about the skill of interviewing, and this comes from one of the webcasts that I did back when quarantine started. One of our grads, who's a very good trainer, is just really exceptional at interviewing. And so I asked her, I was like, what did you do? Because when you were in class, you were brand new like everybody else. And you know, you struggled with a little bit. What did you do to get super good at the interview intake process? And she was like, oh yeah, no, for sure. I struggled with it a lot because I didn't really know how to ask questions. I listened to every single Tim Ferriss podcast. I went all the way back to episode 1 and I listened to them in order. And there's like 300 something. And she's like, I just listened to him ask people questions. And then I started listening to Oprah, and then I started, right? So like, if you're sort of someone who struggles to think of questions to ask, one of the resources that is actually awesomely available is podcasting, right? You're listening to someone ask questions to generate the content of the podcast. So Tim Ferriss is a really good one. I happen to like Dax Shepard a lot, partly because he's funny, but he's actually really good at asking questions. He asks about everyone's background and how they grew up and whatever. And you might even have some podcasts of your own that you like. The key for me is that it doesn't have to be about fitness. What I want it to be is about getting to know somebody. So fitness podcasts are great for the science, but that's not really the point. If I want to get better at interviewing, I want to listen to a podcast about like humans, about people, about stuff, right? So that can be good. And then if you're listening to a podcast and someone asks a really good question, you can be like, oh my God, it's a great question. I'm going to write it down, right? And then we just have to find ways to just kind of make it related. But that might be a helpful step as well, okay? So on the PDQ, there's some notes here, and you may or may not have seen these in the video. There's some notes here about the PDQ specifically. Very small amounts of this are on the exam, and they're super easy, right? So like, for example, what are the 4 PTA global goals? Weight loss, lean body mass, wellness, and sports performance. We're also going to cover that in depth when we get to the program design section. But that's kind of the example of the type of question they might ask on the exam. We want to know the difference between those open-ended and closed-ended questions. Cool, easy enough. And what I like to point out about the criterion questions in terms of the movement style, Annika was a great example because she was like, well, I'm pretty new to this. I've only kind of done, you know, some banded resistance exercises at home. So I don't know, does she know what kind of workout style she likes? Or does she only know what she knows, right? So the answers that she gave me were traditional, right? I like routine and I want something that's like predictable and consistent. So traditional, when we learn about program design, traditional is going to translate to more machine, barbell, bilateral, traditional known exercises, right? I kind of joke around and call it the Arnold Schwarzenegger encyclopedia of exercise. And that's fine. There are a lot of people that like that style of workout. If I had to guess, I would guess that Yvette likes that type of workout because that's pretty specific to the sport of bodybuilding, right? But if we look at progressive exercises, that's things like body weight movements and TRX and kettlebell and sort of multiplanar movement and a little bit more like athletic style stuff. Annika might like that, but she just doesn't know because she's never tried it. She's never experienced it. So the thing for me with the PDQ is if I use those sentences to go, oh, they're traditional, and therefore I don't take the opportunity to introduce them to some progressive or hybrid tools, then I'm never showing them that they might like these things if they tried them. Like I also have a hunch that Yvette's gonna like some of the functional stuff that I teach. She just doesn't know it. She hasn't tried them yet, right? So in the fitness world version of the assessment, I don't really like to ask questions about workout style because in my mind, I'm going to take you onto the gym floor and I'm going to show you some stuff. So imagine in set number 1, I showed you like a barbell preacher curl. And you're like, oh yeah, bicep exercise. That was great. And then in the second set, I show you a TRX biceps curl. And you're like, oh my God, that was so cool. Then I might be like, okay, so hey, between the preacher curl and the TRX biceps curl, which one did you like better? Oh my God, that TRX one was super cool. Okay, cool. It turns out they at least like a little bit of a hybrid program. Well, now I'm going to be able to introduce some additional stuff. So for me, I'd rather show them a couple of different styles in the workout and ask them, hey, what did you like better? Then use these really kind of stock questions to figure that out. That's sort of a me thing. That's been my experience. You're going to come up with your own style, and that's totally fine. But to me, that was something to think about, is often people like what they know. And what we get to do is introduce them to stuff that they don't know, and then they realize, oh my God, I actually really like that. To sort of frame that up for you, functional training has been the number one trend in fitness for like the last 5 years. And when we look at our chain of gyms here, like 10 years ago, you didn't even see functional training in the gym. It was all machines, dumbbells, barbells, cable machines. There were no TRXs, there were no medicine balls, there were no hurdles, there were no sandbags, there were no gliders, there was no turf, there was no battle ropes, right? So what? In the last 5 years, we have a whole new group of members that like functional training, or people that have been working out for the last 20 years have now seen some of this stuff show up in the gyms, and they're like, you know what, that's really cool, I like it. I think it's a little bit more a case of the latter, right? You don't know what you don't know. So those are things to think about, and that's why our program, we teach a lot more functional training, because if anything, what you know and what you're familiar with is like bicep curls and squats and cable rows, right? So you might not hire a trainer for that stuff because you already know it. But if you see me out on the floor and I'm doing like some crazy body weight kettlebell flowing type thing, and you're like, oh my God, that looks amazing, I want to learn how to do that. Well, that's why you might hire me. So you might hire me because you want to learn something you don't know, right? Toko, you wanted to learn Olympic lifting, so you had to go work with a trainer that knows Olympic lifting. That's why you hired him specifically, right? So I like to introduce that and then ask them how they feel about it, not ask them how they feel about it beforehand and then take their words as like 100% of the truth, right? I think that's the opportunity, is to introduce them to things. Okay. All right. From there, the optional follow-ups, you heard me use some of them with Annika. I just kind of filled in the gaps. There was additional information that I wanted to know. I think that comes with a little bit of practice. So there's a nice little list here, and that's fine. But I think if you do the interview 100 times, you'll come up with your own follow-up questions that make sense based on the conversation, right? So it's just whether or not you have a comfort level with conversation or whether you need a little bit of a script to follow. But either way, practice will make you better regardless, okay? So some notes about the why and the buzzwords, we've touched on that already. And so at the end, as we wrap it all up, right, if we just think about what it's going to take to deliver a successful interview, well, we want to try to interview them in a comfortable location. So I don't go sit in the middle of the gym floor and ask questions. I want to sit in the lobby at the front, or I want to take them into a little office or at least a quiet area, right? Because that's going to mean we can communicate better. And then if I've been able to listen and sort of match their style a little bit, and I take really good notes using their words, now I have the tools that allow me to physically and emotionally attach a workout to the person so that I'm now addressing them as a human being, not just a human body, right? So a workout is like push, pull, press, lunge, squat, twist, right? But that's a body. The person, are they scared or excited? Do they want to lose weight, or do they really want to chase that pump feeling? Are they scared because they've been injured before? Are they scared because the gym's really intimidating? Or are they like excited because they saw me swinging kettlebells around and they're like, show me how to do that, right? And so it allows me to bring all of that stuff into their workout experience. So it's not just a set of exercises with reps and weight. We're trying to deliver an experience. If we deliver a good experience, chances are they want to come back and have another experience, right? It's like the world of sales and retail now. You don't just go to a store because you want to buy the product. They talk about experience, right? So Maybe you buy stuff off of Amazon because the experience is that it's fast and easy and there's a ton of selection. But maybe you prefer to go to the little local bookstore on the corner because the staff knows and loves the books and they're happy to have a conversation with you about the latest book they've read. And hey, if you liked Agatha Christie books back in the day, well, you're going to love this author because da 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 da, right? I like shopping at local bookstores. I only buy a book off of Amazon because I heard a podcast about it and I already decided I liked it. You know what I mean? So experience is going to be a real game changer in differentiating who we are as a trainer versus the other trainers that work on our team, or the experience our gym offers compared to the gym down the street. And that's really where we touch on, okay, COVID, everything training is going to be online now. Nope. You can deliver an experience online, but it's going to be very different. And if you can't deliver an experience online, the convenience of it and the safety of it isn't really going to mean people stay with you long term, right? So regardless of how we do what we do, we want to consider the experience that we're delivering. And that becomes a part of the brand we have to offer in our service. Does that make sense? Even us as a school, we have an experience. We're small classes, mentorship based. We want to train you as well as teach you. We want to connect you to the industry, not just help you get certified. Like we even have a learning experience for the same reason, right? Okay. Last couple of pages. This is not a huge chunk of content today, which is nice because it's been a week of a lot of learning already. So we did the goal assessment in class on Saturday, those of you that were here. So again, different set of questions. The last piece in terms of the lecture content from PTA Global is the Kaizen 6 tool, which is essentially gathering feedback. So if I did a first session, asked some questions, did some measurements, went out on the gym floor, at the end of the workout experience, I might want to ask for some feedback. So the questions on the Kaizen 6, you can use some of these questions at the end of session number 1, but you could also use some of these questions throughout the course of training with somebody. So questions like, what aspect of your training with me have you enjoyed the most? What was different about this workout than others that you've done in the past? Or what results have you noticed from doing this phase of working out? I like to ask this one at the end of session 1. Is there anything in particular you were hoping I would do today or that you want me to help you with that I haven't done yet? That one's really important. So say we're a couple sessions in, I'm like, hey, is there anything that you really wanted me to incorporate into your program that we haven't done yet? Yeah, you know what? I really like doing like biceps and triceps. Okay, great. Let me put those in for next time. In my brain, I'm like, lady, you're on a weight loss program. Biceps and triceps exercises don't burn a lot of calories. That's why I didn't program them. But hey, it's more important for you to be right and enjoy what you're doing. So next workout, I'm going to throw in a set of biceps and triceps at the end. That's fine. No problem. Right? Similarly, is there anything you'd like to see more or less of, or even removed? So like some people just hate doing burpees. That's fine. There's other ways to burn lots of calories. We don't have to do burpees, right? So when I ask them and I give them this sense of communication and choice, they're going to feel safer. They're going to feel like they can communicate more openly. If I ask you questions, I'm showing curiosity. I'm showing you that I want to know what you think and what you feel. That's super powerful, right? Number 4, what can I do to make your experience even better? Or on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being poor, 10 being fantastic, where would you score me in terms of satisfaction with me or my training or my services? Yeah, really good. I would say like a 7. Okay, cool. What could I do to make that a 9? You know what? I think just on the days when I'm with you, it's great. But then on the days where I'm in the gym and I'm not doing a session with you, I think I just feel a little bit confused. I don't know if there's a way where you can help me like know what to do when I'm on my own better. Absolutely. Let's talk about how I can do that for you. Right? So if we ask for feedback and say, how can I get better and how can I make the experience better for you? We literally get told what people need. Now, what's funny for me is like, let's say in a friendship, in a relationship, in connection that you have with your family, would you guys recognize someone that's like bad at asking for help? You know what I mean when I say that? I think about my mom. She was a stay-at-home mom. She didn't work. So I think she took on running the household as like her job. But she was also really busy volunteering and did lots of stuff in the community. And I remember wanting to go away for a weekend for soccer, and I really wanted my orange jersey because it was like my good luck jersey, but it was in the wash. And I got like super frustrated because I'd worn it on Tuesday night's practice, and then I wanted to have it for the weekend. And I just remember getting super frustrated because I was like, I really want my lucky orange shirt. But at the same time, I felt bad because I was like, I know my mom's been really busy. But I had this realization like, oh my God, I wish you had just asked me to run a load of laundry because I could have done it. Right? But if you don't ask, then I don't know. And then I just assume that my orange jersey is going to be ready, and then we have a fight. Right? Now, could I have been proactive and gone and run the laundry on my own? Sure. Right? I was a kid. But I think about that sometimes, especially certain personality types. And I want to say kind of stereotypically women, but that's also not fair. But some people just suck at asking for help. If we ask them what help they need, we're giving them an opportunity to tell us, right? What can be hard is to just be like, excuse me, I need to interrupt your life and tell you how to help me. That's harder to do than if I say, Toko, great job this week. What I want to know is, how can I help you even better next week? What could I do for you that would make your training experience with me even better? Like, now I'm showing curiosity and I'm giving her an opportunity to answer that question. She's probably going to give me an answer, right? Whereas if I was like, great job today, Toko, see you next week, she might be like, oh, okay. Like, I don't know what to do this weekend on my own, but like, okay, see you next week, right? So like, we want to give people the opportunity to have help telling us how to help them, right? Jerry Maguire, help me help you. So the Kaizen 6 is that idea. There's a formula for it, but really you can ask any question that's sort of along the same lines, right? So things to think about. You might want to ask for feedback at the end of the first session. You might want to ask for feedback at the end of the first week. You might want to ask for feedback at the end of the first phase. Right? Like, you're going to ask for feedback continuously. It's not like, oh, you've renewed with me twice already. I know you. I know what you want. What if they want something different for the summer than the winter? What if they want something different when they go back to school and now have even more on their plate than when they were just working, but they could come to the gym every day? Right? So like, we've got to continuously ask for feedback, and that's really helpful. So I think it's important to get into that habit. So the Kaizen, using it continuously, it allows you to bring your best game into work every day. It allows you to consistently over-deliver for your clients. And it allows us to always learn, right? So we can always be learning science, but we can also be always learning from our clients. So Kaizen, the word, means continuous improvement. It's actually Japanese, but it means continuous improvement. So I always want to figure out, how can I be better and better and better and better? And I mean better smarter, not better harder. So for me to get better over time, I can't do more work because eventually I run out of hours, but I can do better work, I can do smarter work, and I can do the right work. And if I know what the right work is for my client, then I can just do that, okay? So asking for feedback establishes trust and maintains it as long as we listen and act on it. Okay, so there's some notes here about how to use it. I think it's pretty simple, and you can ask other questions too, right? So again, these forms are really helpful, but if you have a sort of a way of asking for feedback that you just make a little bit systematic, great. You can ask the questions that you think work the best for you. What it does require though is making time. So you either have to get into the habit of asking a question at the end of session, or you have to sort of make time every 2 weeks to check in, or maybe you're going to text them on your day off as you're writing their program for the next week. Like, you have to get into a little bit of a rhythm. And when you go to ask for feedback, I would say check yourself a little bit, because when you ask for feedback, sometimes you can get told something that like maybe hurts your feelings a little bit, right? So if I was like, hey, you know, Yvette, as an instructor so far in the first week, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is poor and 10 is excellent, how would you rate me? Well, what if she's like, I don't know, like 5? Oh my God. 5, never had a 5 out of 10 in my life. Like, I have to just be willing to accept what her feedback is. Now, if she says 5, I'm going to say, okay, thank you very much for sharing that. I'm really interested in how I could be like a 7 or an 8. What could I do to be a better instructor? And then what if she says like, you know what? I'm someone who's like really interested in like being on time. And it like really bugged me that you started the Zoom session at like 4:05. Thank you for that feedback. I'm going to have to readjust some things and set some boundaries around my own time. You're right. It would be way more professional for me to like start the Zoom at 4 o'clock. Thank you for your feedback. I'm going to do a better job of that next week. And then guess what I have to do next week? A better job. I got to start on time, right? So just be a little bit mindful that when you ask for feedback, our natural biological response to criticism is defensiveness. Well, I was talking to the CEO and he was bugging me and I like got on as soon as I can. Okay, that's just going to mean that she never gives me feedback ever again, right? So if I ask for feedback, I also have to like take a deep breath and take it as constructive, right? Not get like bent out of shape and defensive about it. Not like jump down her throat and attack her after she's answered my question, right? So that's just something to think about. When I get feedback, it doesn't mean I'm wrong. It just means I could be better, right? So, oh my God, I hated that workout today. It was so hard. And in my head, I'm like, but. Okay, how could I make it better, right? So that's something to think about. And it can take some practice to be good at accepting feedback, right? Okay. So the summary of the interview stuff. Whatever intake you use, goal assessment, program design, questionnaire, something else, what it allows us to do is quickly establish a strong relationship through trust and rapport. What we want, what the PDQ wants is goal, style, level, and motivation. Goal, style, level specifically because of how it translates to the program design template. And I'm going to show you a quick example of that after this. The goal assessment, what we're more interested in is what and why. What do you want? Why is it important? And then some specific details that help us deliver the workout experience according to their wants and needs. So you can see there's a little bit of a difference between those two things. And again, I'll explain the PDT in a second. Kaizen 6, or just asking for feedback in general, allows us to maintain that strong relationship. And it empowers the client to be a part of their exercise program. So showing them that we care enough to ask and then making the modification to what they said shows that we're paying attention, right? So overall, these two tools are sort of this end cap, beginning and end. Now we're providing a more well-rounded experience, and we really have the opportunity to meet the client where they need to be met, right? That to me is one of the biggest things that defines the difference between a good trainer and a great trainer. A good trainer knows a lot of things and can do the right work, but a great trainer just kind of pulls it all together and can meet a client at any point. They're motivated, they're not. They're in pre-contemplation, they're in maintenance. Like, my ability to be a little bit of a chameleon in how I work with my clients means I can help more people, and I'm ultimately going to be able to help them find success. Okay? Does anybody have any questions about that? Like I said, shorter package of notes today. Cool. Okay. So let me show you a little bit about the PDT, because again, they'll bring it up in all the PTA Global stuff. And it's a version of an intake. So I'm going to show it to you, and then I'm going to show why I recommend something a little bit different. Okay. So we're going to use Annika again. So let's say we've gone through the PDQ, we've collected all of our information, we went out onto the gym floor, we did a little bit of a workout. Now we're summarizing, we're reflecting, we're figuring out what the next step is. I'll be honest, my goal is that she hires me, which means she's going to continue showing up and working with me twice a week, 3 times a week for the next month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever, right? If that's the case, then all I really need her to leave with is like a little bit of homework, which might be like, hey, those stretches that we did at the end of the session, I want you to do them again tomorrow. Because if you're a little bit sore, that's totally normal. But if you're sore, doing these stretches is also going to help you. I might even have a picture of them on a piece of paper, and I might even say, here you go. Or I might text her a little video of the stretches that I filmed ahead of time, because I always show people the same stretches at the end. I say, here, follow the video, whatever. So I'm giving her a little bit of homework, something to do in the interim. And then I'm also saying like, okay, I'll see you on Saturday or Monday or whatever the next day is, right? So like really all I need her to do is like a little bit of homework and then show up again. That's my preference as a trainer. That's the system that we work in. You don't know a lot yet. Therefore, how could I have high expectations that you would be responsible for a lot at this point? That doesn't make sense to me. I want you to come back and keep learning. And it's going to take a while, but then you're going to get to the point where you're like, oh yeah, this is my second home. I know what I'm doing here. Great. So that's my philosophy. And that's how we teach for sort of like the fitness world and commercial gym side of things. You as a trainer, you're going to get paid because people show up to train with you. Makes sense, right? Renee, I have a question for you in regards to this. When you work with a client as a social worker, and I'm sure there's differences between individual people, but how often do you see somebody when they're your client? What's sort of the average, if you can estimate?
Well, it depends on the client. So usually every week, initially, yeah.
Okay, great. So let's take that cadence and apply it to training. So, hey, Annika, I'm going to see you once a week. There's 168 hours in a week. And Renee, how many times do you exercise in a week?
Every day.
Okay. Yvette, you can show me fingers. How many days do you exercise in a week? Pretty much every day, right? Toko, how many days do you exercise in a week? Five. Okay. 5 to 7 even. Yeah. Listen, I'll be honest. I do like 3 to 4 like proper gym workouts, and then I do stuff at home on the days in between, right? But like that's what fitness is. Like you're at least doing something every day, even if it's like lift one day, cardio the next day, yoga the day after that. Like you're doing something every day, right? Annika's like brand new to this. She's just been doing some banded rows and curls at home and walking her dog, right? So I'm going to see you a week from now. What are you going to do in the meantime? Come to the gym by yourself? You don't know how to do anything. Go to an exercise class? You're like afraid of embarrassing yourself, so that doesn't feel comfortable. Walk on the treadmill every single day until I see you again next week. How freaking boring is that? Right? So like to me, from the perspective of like you're new and you want a routine and you want to start working on this lifestyle, it doesn't make sense for us to meet once a week. It makes even less sense for me to meet you one time and then never again, right? So that's why the philosophy for me is like, I'd love to start off like 3 times a week. And if you can't, let's at least do 2. And then that third day is like, do you want to do a spin class? Do you want to do a yoga class? Do you want me to give you a program to do on the elliptical? Do you want to come to a GT12 class, like a small group training thing, right? But like, at least can I get you to come to the gym kind of like every other day? That's my goal for now. And then the more you learn, the more you're able to do some of those days in between on your own, right? Okay, that's our philosophy. On the PTA Global side, they've got some different options, and I'm actually going to pull up my account. We're going to sort of go through it. So pretend, if you will, Annika, that we did the interview questions together, and then we went out on the gym floor. Let's say we did about Let's say we did about 20, 25 minutes together and I showed you some machines and we did a little bit of body weight core stuff, right? So we come back and we sit down and say, great job. How do you feel? You're like, I feel great. I'm a little bit sweaty. That was awesome. And then I say, okay, awesome. Let's talk a little bit about this routine, right? Buzzword, routine. Let's talk a little bit about this routine that we're going to set up for you so that you can lose like 10 to 15 pounds over the next 12 to 16 weeks, right? It's not going to be like, okay, well, now I've introduced you to the gym. Come back, repeat the thing I just showed you every day until January and you'll get there. Like, that's not it, right? So with PTA Global, one of the things they say is, okay, well, let's look at what the next 12 weeks would look like. Okay, so I'm going to pull this up and we're actually going to look at creating your workout plan. So if we go into the program design tool together, your goal is weight loss. Your style is traditional based on what you told me. And as far as exercising at the gym, you're a lead-off client. What that means is you're just getting started with more formal exercise. Let's create the program, okay? And so what we've got is a weight loss traditional lead-off program for the next 12 weeks, okay? So what it shows is that I'd be able to send all of this to you via email, right? And then it's like, okay, my job's done. I never have to see you again. Let's be clear about what's being sent to her if that's the case, if that's the choice that we make. Okay. This is day one, week one. If you're not like super smart and comfortable and confident, what does this page look like to you? Like a whole lot of Martian, right? So picture, if you can, bench, overhead reach, hip flexor stretch, bench, rotational hamstring stretch, stride stance, pectoral stretch. Dumbbell squat with a reach, knee, mid-cable stride stance, chest press, anterior alt step up, machine seated chest press. Okay, that one I can picture. High cable standing push downs. I know what a cable is. I know what standing means. What about the rest of it? Crunches, hands on chest. Oh, okay. Right? And that was just day one. What about if we go look at there's only one for a week. Do I do this multiple times in week one? Do I only work out once in week one? What happens, right? So like, here's the thing. It's a great resource, but like for someone that's new and doesn't really know what they're doing, does that give them all the information they need?
No.
No. Like
they wouldn't have a clue. Like, I know when I was new to this and I saw my workout program, I didn't have a clue what it meant.
Yeah. And so it means something to me. I get it. But like, it doesn't mean anything to her. And that's just scary and intimidating. And like, oh my God. Like, so if I sent that to you the night before and I was like, hey, go to the gym tomorrow and do this. What the hell? Like, you'd sit in the change room and you'd stare at that piece of paper for 20 minutes. And then you'd be like, I think I'm just going to go walk on the treadmill. And you're like already stressed out and overwhelmed, so you don't know what to do, right? So listen, I'm not trying to shit on the resource. It's a great resource. But Annika is not in a position yet, from knowledge, experience, whatever, to be able to use that resource effectively, right? So then that's not the best way to help her. So the PDT to me is a resource for me as a trainer. So if I was like, okay, hey, listen, I want to get you into some workouts and teach you some equipment. Hey, Chandra.
Hey.
Let's have you come back next week and we'll do a couple of workouts together. Well, I would print out that piece of paper and I would use it to show you your workout. And then maybe after we've been through the workout, I'd give a copy of it to you and say, okay, here you go. Here's what we've done. The reality is, guys, from a motor learning perspective, she's not really going to feel comfortable and confident with anything until she's done a minimum of 100 reps. I'm not going to ask her to do 100 reps on her first workout. She would not even be able to sit on the toilet the next day, right? So like at bare minimum, it's going to take a little bit of repetition until we get there, okay? So if you look at how personal training is offered in the gyms, and again, I'm going to use Fitness World as an example. When you first sign up for a membership, you have the choice to add 3 sessions with a trainer, 6 sessions with a trainer, and or there's a membership option that includes group classes and group training. So if you came into the gym today and you're like, I really want to lose some weight, you know, like everything we just learned from Annika, I would say, okay, awesome. Well, we've got these different membership options based on the fact that you're new. I'd really recommend having some guidance. Can you see yourself wanting to take any group fitness classes? And she's like, yeah, you know what? My friend takes Zumba and I've heard that it's really fun. I think I might want to take Zumba. Okay, great. This is the membership for you. Now, the most important decision we have to make is what training plan we're going to help you get set up on. So in terms of meeting with a trainer, you can do 3 sessions, you can do 6 sessions, and that's just the initial option where we give you a great discount to help you get started. Would you like to go ahead and take advantage of one of those options? And in her mind, she's like, oh my God, I need to work with a trainer for like months. So like for sure, I'm going to take the 6 and that'll allow me to kind of see how it goes and then decide what to do after that. Right? So like our whole model is please let us help you. And then we're always available to continue to help you. Right? So that's what we're trying to do when we sign people up for a membership. It's not like, yeah, $750 bi-weekly, come in, do whatever you want. Don't die. Those gyms where it's like 24 hours and you get a fob blows my mind. How's the fob going to help you learn how to exercise safely and like implement behavior change? Well, you already have to know what you're doing to benefit from a gym like that. And if you don't, forget it. Right? Like we see people start and quit all the time. They start, they walk on the treadmill for a bit and they look at someone deadlifting a really heavy weight and they're like, that's scary. And then they never come back. Right? So the model that we teach is for sure different than that. And it's based on like, hey, come back, let's work together. Okay. So the PDT is a good resource. I still don't even think it's that helpful because Yvette, do you know what an anterior alt step up with a reach to the knee is? Not really. I mean, anterior, okay, versus posterior, front. Okay, front step up. Okay, 90-degree box, like 3 inches off the ground. Also, what's this reach to the knee thing? So like you're a very experienced exercise person who's working on getting certified as a personal trainer and you don't even know what to do with that piece of paper. Like part of me wants to go PTA Global. Have you heard of pictures and video? Right? So it's a great resource, but we still need more than that, okay? So what we're working on is getting you all set up with access to Trainerize, which I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's an app. There's a desktop version. It's got an exercise library. It's got a program builder. It's got a bunch of exceptional stuff on it. And we're gonna give you access at first as clients. And then when we get to the program design section, we're gonna teach you how to create workouts and how to be a trainer on Trainerize. But here's the thing I'll tell you. Even if I give you videos and an app and pictures and like the best hand holding you can imagine around exercise execution, it's still hard for people that are new and scared to show up and do it, right? So my fiance's mom is a lovely lady and went through a big weight loss journey and then was like, okay, I need to exercise, and is pretty independent and didn't want to bother me, right? She's like, you're busy, I don't want to bother you. So she went to the gym for like a year and the only machine she used was the elliptical. Hey, that's fine. She went like 3 days a week and she went on the elliptical and she was safe and she got into a good routine and I'm super proud of her. But at a certain point, the elliptical is not going to help you build muscle, build strength. She has some back pain, her core is weak, her hips are tight, right? So every time we go over there, I bring her a foam rolling tool or I show her a stretch or I'm like, hey, try this new dead bug, right? I'm like meeting her where she's at, which is like, I feel safe at home and I feel safe on the elliptical. And then finally, as we were getting Trainerize up and running, I was like, hey, Nancy, I really want your help because I'm learning how to use this app. Can I set it up for you so that you can tell me how you like it, right? I played that card. Guys, she loves it because there's a video, she clicks the video and then she goes and finds the machine that looks like the video and then she does the machine, right? And then I was like, hey, I'd really love to come in and do a workout with you and just see how you're liking the app and whatever. So she's been following this super simple little circuit machine video for a while. And then we go in to do a session together. I had to change the height of the seat. I had to change the angle of the thing. And she was doing weights that were way too light. She's super strong. And she was doing the lat pull down, but her wrists were like in a really weird flex position and her back was rounded. So I was like super nice and super gentle, but I showed her a couple things And she was like, oh my God, that's so much better. You know what? Like when I did that exercise last time, my back hurt. Thank you so much. Right? So like even the app, as great as it is, she doesn't know what she doesn't know. Right? And you look at a video and you do the best you can, but that's not the same. Like when we learn dead bugs, I lay on the ground, I show you what it looked like. I said, now you go. Doesn't mean you know what doing it right even feels like. So that's what we do as coaches. We bridge the gap between what it looks like and what it's supposed to feel like. And we bridge the gap between, if you have to watch the video every time you go to do an exercise, what happens to your heart rate while you're trying to figure out what the next exercise is? Right? So again, we're delivering an experience, right? And that curated experience, man, it's so far above and beyond what an app can provide. So I like technology. I think there's some great tools out there. And I am a fan of anything that gets someone moving or gets them in the door or like helps them start to build healthier habits, right? So again, nothing wrong with the fact that she went on the elliptical for a year, but we as human beings, as coaches, as inspirational leaders and role models, we are just never going to be replaced by an app. We're never going to be replaced by a TV that shows through the mirror because there's no interaction, there's no communication, there's no real-time experience. And so the human value of that is really important. And that more than the science, that's what we're trying to learn. That's what we're trying to be able to deliver. Does that make sense? So we want to use good tools, but a tool is never going to replace what we can deliver as a fellow human being. And that's what we're trying to get at. Okay? So by all means, go check out the PDT. But I happen to think Trainerize is going to be a lot more helpful for us. And we're going to get that loaded up soon. I'll be showing the day class the program tomorrow, and I'll probably just give it to you guys. I know we don't have a class on Saturday, but I'll probably just give it to you early so you can at least see a little bit of the program, and so that you have the same workouts that the day class is working on, and then we'll update and catch up a little bit from there. Okay. So in live class, we would normally go do interviews on each other. Doesn't really work all that well on Zoom. So I encourage you to do the PDQ, or if you want the questions that are on that green sheet, if you don't have that, I'm happy to send that out for you to practice a couple. And again, I would try to interview a couple different people that are willing, get a little bit of practice on that side of things. What we can spend a little bit of time on here is just kind of circling back on SMART goal. Because again, I think that's an important part of then engaging somebody in what they're going to do. And the practical that comes next, again, I'm going to send you guys a video to follow along and try some stuff. We've worked through foam rolling. We did the static stretching one. I sent you a hip mobility one. The next thing I'm going to send out is a workout to follow along that is core specific. Because the next step in the warm-up is sort of core activation and making sure the body's ready to go. So that'll be the next piece that I give you, okay? Questions, comments, or concerns about any of that stuff before we start talking about SMART goals? Cool. So questions for you. Some of you sent me SMART goals. Would anybody be willing to let me use your SMART goals so that we can talk about something that's real instead of making something up hypothetically?
You can use mine.
Okay, Renee is good. Regan's good. Cool. Let me grab them and we'll take a look. All right, so Regan's goal. Yes, okay, difference between SMART and SMART-er. This is a me thing because it's just my opinion. Doesn't mean I'm right. But to me, the SMART goal is how you recap and summarize and make a suggestion for how the client is going to work with you. And then if they say, yes, I'd like to work with you, then we're going to establish how we evaluate their progress and what the reward is going to be. If they're like, that sounds good, but I don't want to hire a personal trainer, I just don't have the time, well, then they're not giving me the opportunity to evaluate them. If anything, I might be like, okay, awesome. Well, listen, it was really great to meet with you today. If you have any questions, I want you to feel like you can reach out to me. But it sounds like you're pretty excited to get into Zumba. I think that's going to be a great place for you to start. Have a great evening. Like, what's the point of me evaluate that they come or not? Like, they're not making it my job. So the first step to me is the SMART goal. And then whether or not they hire me is whether or not I'm going to continue to coach them. Okay. So let me read Regan's goal here. Just give me a nice little paragraph. So specific, I would like to attain a more defined physique by reducing my body fat percentage to the minimum maintainable requirement and by continuing to tone my muscles through tone, not bulk exercises. So the rule for specific is, can I picture what they want to accomplish? I think that's exceedingly specific. I can picture it. She wants some muscle tone. She wants less body fat. She's very clear about saying she's not trying to get bigger. So the specifics, if I had to sort of short form it, is say reduce body fat and lean and tone. Would you agree? Okay, so specific goal, I can picture it. Measurable. I prefer not to use a scale or measuring tape for mental health reasons, so I judge how my physique changes based on how I look and feel in my clothes. Eventually, I might be fine with another person recording my numbers or percentages, but without informing me of what they are. Okay. That's fair, and for Regan, that makes a lot of sense, and I would 100% get on board with that. My instinct as a trainer, and Regan, feel free to unmute yourself so we can have a conversation about this. My instinct about working with you is that we do still want some type of measurement, but maybe what we're going to do is talk about performance measurements instead of physique measurements. I know your goal is physique related, but we're agreeing to engage on an exercise program together. Maybe there would be some benefit in setting some performance metrics. So for example, if for your cardio program, you really like to run on the treadmill, maybe we're going to do a 1 mile treadmill test. So I just want you to do 1 mile, go at a pace that's, comfortably challenging for you, and record how long it takes to run a mile. And then I'm going to give you the interval program you're going to follow. And then a month later, we're going to redo that 1 mile test. And the performance improvement would be that you're now running a mile faster. Regan, how would you feel about using that as a way of measuring our progress?
I feel like that would be a more positive measuring system, I guess, for me. Yeah, I do care about my performance and like how fast and long I can run, my stamina and everything. So that would also be good.
Yeah. So that would be one example. We could also say, hey, how many push-ups can you do on day 1? Do you know how many push-ups you can do?
I think it's just over 20.
That's pretty good. Do you do them from your toes, full range, chest to ground?
I try to. It seems odd, but over the years I've gotten worse at them, even with practicing. I don't know why.
Oh, okay. So I find that interesting. I would definitely want to do a little push-up test with you. And part of what doing an assessment looks like, which I will show you guys when we're live, but part of what doing an assessment looks like is only measuring good execution. So the reason why I asked, do you go chest to ground? Is I'm not going to count 20 if you only do 20 halfway down. So maybe when I actually show you how to do a push-up properly, you're like, oh my God, I can only do 3. But the fact that you're doing them properly means we're actually now going to get stronger over time. So then maybe when I'm like, hey, 3 is actually a really good place to start, especially now that we're doing them properly, let's work on our program that includes resistance training. We're going to do your push-up test again a month from now. We're going to see how many more we can get. So like running a mile is a cardio endurance test. Push-ups is an upper body strength test. I could implement a couple of performance tests that are going to relate to the type of training we're doing. If she wants to get leaned and toned, we're going to be doing both cardio and resistance training. So even though we're not comfortable, we're collaborating and conversing about the fact that we're not comfortable using physique metrics, we're going to work towards our physique goal, but we're also going to use some performance metrics. right? So then I might say, if your mile was 9 minutes and 30 seconds, we're going to measure our improvement and we're going to try to see if we can get faster. So then that allows me to have a measurement. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Okay, awesome. So now we've now had a conversation about measurement. Attractive. I believe this goal is attractive because I have very low self-esteem and I would like to boost my confidence. Additionally, I have some nice clothes that I would love to wear, but I'm too worried because I don't feel confident in them. Lastly, I hope that achieving this goal will support my performance in dance, running, and other forms of training. Awesome. Okay, I like that you put that second point in there. So I have two thoughts. Number one, I'm curious about advice you received or treatment you received or what the process was for you to get to a healthier place with exercise. And I actually think it's really smart that you're identifying that, hey, it's not a good idea for me to step on a scale and stuff like that. So if we decide to work together, I'm going to ask more questions about that process. Do you talk to someone? Do you have a group that you work with? Do you have resources around managing that circumstance? And if you do, then I want to collaborate and work to support whatever else is happening, right? So if you have a group you meet with, if you talk to a coach or a therapist or a counselor or anything like that, I'm going to take my lead from that and I'm going to do what I can to support you. But my hunch, especially with how you expressed why the goal is attractive to you, is that confidence is a construct, right? I've met people that are very overweight that are super confident. And I've met people that have really low body weight and they also have really low self-esteem and self-confidence. So like I have an understanding that confidence is a mental construct. It's not that you earn it at the point where you fall below 19% body fat, right? So I'm thinking about the fact that there's some stuff you're dealing with that goes beyond my scope of practice. So I want to learn about who else you're working with that I can collaborate with and therefore support you. But I'm also thinking about the fact that a buzzword for Regan is confidence. And a buzzword for Regan is self-esteem. And I love that she's dancing and running and looking at performance. So part of what makes the fact that we're going to implement exercise to reach this goal attractive is that by learning we can do things, by accomplishing things, by being faced with physical challenges and overcoming them, we gain confidence from that, right? So part of what my work as a trainer might be is like creating little challenges and helping her succeed at them, and then putting a bunch of encouraging, positive language into the relationship that we have as client and trainer, and giving her performance-oriented things to have confidence about, instead of how I look in clothes, how I fit into clothes, et cetera, right? So I do want to be really clear for those of us on this call that Regan's being really honest and helpful in sharing her experience, but there's definitely some stuff in there that isn't ours. We don't know enough. We're not the expert in it, right? So I'm talking a lot about complementing the things she knows and the things she's learned, because I'm not in charge and I'm not the boss, and I'm not going to be the one to say, well, you know, this is how you should feel and this is what should happen. But I do sort of get the sense that if I'm going to be Regan's trainer, I certainly have an opportunity to feed positivity into the work that we do. And I do think that's going to be helpful. But I'm also being clear around, like for myself as an individual, I'm also being clear around the fact that I have to maintain some boundaries around what's mine and what isn't, right? So I know that this sounds like a little bit more than what a training role would be, and it is. So the reality is, if you're having this conversation and you're like, oh my God, Regan, I really care about you, but I don't know that I have the skills to work with you, it would be okay to say that, right? I need more support, or I think you'd be better served by someone who has some additional skills, right? Like it would be okay to do that. But at bare minimum, what I can say is, hey, if you give me more information about what you can do with exercise and what works for you and what supports you in maintaining a positive state of mental health, I'm happy to do that with you, right? And when we look at things like gaining strength and achieving performance and whatever, I think we can make a positive impact. But like, for example, I'm not going to recommend that you prepare for a physique competition. Even though your goal is physique, I can pick up that something so focused on the physical aesthetic isn't going to be a good match for what's required to make the goal attractive, which is like, I need to do something that allows me to maintain a positive mental state. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Regan, how do you feel about all that? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does, definitely. Like, I don't see doctors or therapists anymore. Originally, when my parents were trying to get me to gain weight, they said I could get a coach because that was more my mindset. I wanted exercise and things like that instead of just doctors telling me to gain weight and like they can't guarantee I wouldn't gain a lot of weight. That was just very triggering. So I definitely preferred a coach aspect.
Cool. So I do think that there's some additional experience required around the type of coaching that would be really helpful for Regan. But I think what I am showing, or what I'm trying to show, is that I'm communicating with humility, and I'm saying, hey, you're the boss. You know things that I don't. So like you tell me what I can do to help you, and you tell me where the boundaries are. And if at any point you're feeling uncomfortable, or you tell me what are some of the signs that we're doing too much, and can I help support you in recognizing those? Like that's what I can do, right? Not prescribing, I'm not diagnosing, I'm not in charge, I'm not in the lead. So it's a little bit of a different relationship. But what we're really trying to do is establish that the SMART goal that we have addresses the need to pay attention to that stuff. And so that makes it a good goal. That makes it a SMART goal on purpose, right? Okay, realistic. I know this goal is realistic because I've achieved it before. Now, however, I need to use different methods because those I used previously, according to doctors and coaches, were not sustainable. Okay. I think what's missing for me out of your SMART goal, Regan, is sort of something timeline related. So where we're not going to do weight and body fat percentage measurements, we therefore don't attach a timeline to a physical result, but we do need to attach some kind of timeline to what we're doing. So if it's like we're going to do the mile test and the push-up test, right? And then we're going to reassess a month from now. What I can do is say, you know, I think it would be realistic to take 30 seconds off your 1 mile time in a month. It wouldn't be realistic to take 2 minutes off the time. So the whole thing is realistic relates to measurable. So for you, if we've decided we're going to measure performance, well, we can now create some realistic timelines around that performance. And the thing with performance is our goal is to get better over time at any number of things. But like, I don't know, how fast can you run a mile? Like, I feel like 4 minutes is about as fast as we can go. So it wouldn't be realistic to want to run a 1 minute mile. I would say buy a motorcycle, right? So realistic is hard to do unless we have a measurement. So in your case, what we would do is tie the realistic to the measurement. And then performance is going to relate to energy and nutrition and sleep and all that kind of stuff. So the cool thing is if we exercise too much and we tire ourselves out, our performance is actually going to decline. So declining performance would be one of those things that we could look at and say, hey, we need to make some adjustments because we actually want you to be performing better over time, not worse. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds very similar to what I've heard.
Cool. So she did say timeline, I'd like to achieve this goal within 3 months. Okay, cool. We still have to kind of tie that to the specific measurable. Can we make some kind of headway around reducing body fat and getting a little bit more lean and toned? Sure, yes. I think what's unique about your goal and your sort of where you're starting from or where you're at right now is just the need for a little bit of ambiguity, if you will. So I'm going to focus on implementing as many positive and affirming habits and steps as I can as part of this process. And so that changes the measurement a little bit. But I would say an example of what we'd be looking at here is if we go back to the 4 goals: weight loss, lean muscle mass, wellness, and sports conditioning. Would you agree with me that we might actually want to choose wellness as a goal?
Yeah, definitely. It's not just physical, I guess. I kind of neglect the mental side too.
Sure. So the benefit of prioritizing wellness is we can achieve fat loss on a wellness goal, but by definition, it's going to happen slower because we want it to be sustainable and supportive of your holistic health, right? So I think that's how I would approach the programming side of it. Is wellness allows us to do it a little bit slower, or wellness with a sports performance component means we're prioritizing maintaining successful performance as a function of the program. And so that would sort of be my recommendation, is like, hey, let's prioritize these things. And as long as we're maintaining a good, positive, healthy state, we will see changes in body composition over time. How's that?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, awesome. So good one, because by definition, a little bit tougher in terms of a SMART goal. But that's sort of where I would land it. And again, what I'm trying to establish is sort of a collaborative working relationship, because it's going to be important. And if anything, doing that properly is going to be empowering. Like I'm giving Regan the opportunity to be empowered and have some say in how things are going. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think part of coming out of something like an eating disorder or a body image disorder is learning how to have a different relationship with the concept of control. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
So I don't want to replace negative self-control with external negative control, right? So it's got to be a more collaborative, finding ways to feel good so that we don't have to use inappropriate levels of control to manage. That would be the slight difference. Cool. All right. Thank you for that one. Let's take a look let's take a look at Renee's here. Next one in my email. I love that you guys are eating out of Tupperware, because it's like you're meal prepping and it's dinner time and you got to eat. That's perfect. That's what hybrid class should be all about. As I sit here drinking caffeine at 6 o'clock, I'm a bad example today. All right. Renee, SMART goal. Oh, nice. We have a business related one here. Okay. My goal is to become registered as a personal trainer with the BCRPA. So that's the specificness. Good news. You actually don't have to have anything to do with BCRPA. You get to be certified, but you don't have to do it through them. Just kind of side note. They're slow and their administration sucks, which is why we don't. Let's just say your goal is to be certified.
Okay.
And able to practice in British Columbia. How about that? There we go. All right, cool. I can totally picture that, because I'm now picturing Renee wearing a shirt that says personal trainer on the back. So that's great. That's measurable. I want to be certified by December 1st. Awesome. Okay, that gives us a date. That's perfect. She's even gone to the step of taking that goal and breaking it down into shorter term goals, which is really cool. So short-term goal, I will devote 30 minutes Monday, Wednesday, Friday evening to reviewing my textbooks. I'm going to work on my ICE package every Sunday from 4 to 8. That's a BCRPA thing, so we could adjust that a little bit. And I will practice instructing one exercise every Friday from 10 to 11 a.m. Cool.
I was super specific.
I like that. Yeah. So you're taking some rules from another certain, I know you've got other certifications in the works, so that's totally fine. I do like breaking things down into short-term goals. That's cool. Number 4, make your goal attractive. Why do you want to reach this goal? Well, I want to accomplish this goal because it'll open up job opportunities in the fitness industry for me. A job in the fitness industry would give me a chance to work in an exciting, fun environment while making a positive impact on people's lives. Does that sound attractive?
That's to me.
Yeah, I'm man, sounds awesome. You like, I want more job opportunities and I want to be able to help people. So like, I imagine her taking off her personal trainer shirt at the end of the day and getting into bed and being like, I have the best job ever. Yeah, that's super attractive. I like that. Keep in mind, attractive is designed to motivate you when the going gets tough. Having a deeper purpose for why you would choose to struggle through something is important. So chances are on Sunday night from 4 till 8, Renee might want to hang out with friends, watch Netflix, go to the beach, but she's like, you know what? I want a job where I make a positive impact on people's lives. You know what? I'm going to stay at home on Sunday and I'm going to review my textbook. That's great. That makes sense. Make your goal timely. We already said by December 1st. Sometimes you'll find that measurable and timely kind of cross over a little bit. That's fine. As long as you have that information, that's okay. And then she even did an So evaluate. My halfway measurement will be on October 20th. So what to me that means is like she's going to put a calendar invite or something on October 20th. And it's like, are you halfway through the textbook? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, good, carry on. If the answer is no, it's going to be like, uh-oh, I'm going to have to re-strategize and figure out how to speed up so that I can still be finished on December 1st. Let's translate that to a fitness goal. If I want to lose 15 pounds by November 30th, that means I have to lose 7.5 by halfway there. What if I get halfway there and I've only lost 2 pounds? Uh-oh. I'm going to have to add extra workouts. I'm going to have to change what I'm doing with my nutrition. I'm going to have to stop going out with my friends on Wednesday night for wing night, like whatever. But my job as a trainer is to get you there by the end of November. So if we get halfway there and we're not halfway there yet, then I'm still going to be able to help you, but now we got to make some adjustments. So that's a good example of that. Reward. Once I finish, I'll take myself out to a nice restaurant to celebrate. That's good. So that's like a nice big reward. And then I'll reward myself in little ways throughout the process with self-care activities. Cool. From a me as a trainer helping you perspective, I'd want to get a little bit more concrete on what that means. But again, yours is a business related goal and that's fine. More likely we'd be looking at a sort of fitness related goal. But yeah, that's great. I want to be a certified personal trainer. Technically the measurement is I want to be certified. Why is it attractive? Because I want a job that fulfills me where I can make a positive impact. Is it realistic? Yep. I have been told it's going to take me 100 hours and I'm dividing 100 hours between now and December 1st. Okay, cool. Timely. There's that December 1st. So that breaks things down effectively. Good job. Makes sense. Okay. Who else do I have here? I have Yvette. Yvette, can we take a look at yours? Yeah, okay, cool. All right. Oh, we've got another business one. Cool. Let's see if there's any differences. So specific, to become a personal trainer. Good. Measure. To be effective and measure progress through attending class regularly, homework, in-class activities, quizzes, shadowing other personal trainers. That's what the measurement is. I need there to be a ruler. I would suggest this program is a ruler. It runs from September 2nd to November 6th. So like there's your ruler. That's actually why we do what we do. If you just sign up for the PT cert on PTA Global, they try to give you a ruler. They say, hey, the ruler is 6 months. We just give you a shorter ruler. We also give you a class schedule, Zoom, Tuesday, Thursday night at 4, Saturday from 9, you know? So that's the measurement. I'm going to attend the Zoom classes from 4 to 8 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm going to go to Vancouver on Saturdays to do the practical. I'll be done by November 6th. That's the ruler. So something to think about. Measurable often means quantified. There's got to be a number in it. That's a good way to figure out whether or not you're measuring it, is it's numerical. Okay, for reasons we discussed, Regan's is not, but then I even said, hey, what if we try to take 30 seconds off our 1 mile time? 30 seconds is still a number, okay? Attractive. Want to become a personal trainer to first and foremost help people become the best version of themselves. to make a difference in someone's life by helping people with their health and fitness goals, to feel more confident and strong, to inspire people, maybe even to help someone step on stage for their first time, and just to learn more about the fitness industry. As a secondary goal, I want to step out of my comfort zone and build great and rewarding relationships. Totally. There's a lot in there. I like it. So yeah, that's attractive. Again, what's the purpose, the deeper purpose and the meaning behind it? I want to help people. I want to challenge myself. I'm retired. I want to keep crushing it. I don't want to just sit at home in my sweatpants, right? So that's good. I mean, you can still sit at home in your sweatpants, especially after leg day, but
Like today.
not today. Time-based. Following the PTA global syllabus and the 7-week schedule. Yeah, so like I said, time-based and measure are often going to overlap, and I missed realistic. So is the goal realistically attainable? For me, I'm going through a big change doing this because I haven't studied in over 34 years, except day lectures and a couple of workshops. Even just doing the Zoom class was a big deal, as I'm not all that techie. So as I go along and finish each chapter, the in-class activities, the Zoom, etc., the program is realistic because I have that structure and that schedule on it. They're all individual achievements on their own. So my attainable goal is to finish successfully. Yeah, in general, yes, it gets a little bit mixed up there. And again, it's not a problem because often a SMART goal is just a conversation, right? We end up agreeing on a series of terms. Realistic, I just think you could express some additional confidence. Is it realistic? Yes. I work out all the time. I'm passionate about fitness. I retired. I have the time available. I decided to sign up for this program because I was going to get additional practical knowledge. And like, okay, maybe I haven't studied for a while, but like, I also don't have to get it done in 2 weeks. I have 8, and I don't have to write the exam on the last day. I could take an extra week to study if I wanted to. So like, what makes it realistic is the support and the flexibility. The fact that your schedule has the time for it. The fact that you have some experience in the fitness industry. That's what makes it realistic.
Okay.
Right? So one of the other things that you can think about when you're working with a client and setting a SMART goal is realistic is 2 things. Number 1, it's you as the fitness professional saying, based on what I know is possible, safe, scientific, and healthy, yes, what you're asking for is realistic. And then the second thing is also an opportunity to pump their tires a little bit. So I'm pumping Yvette's tires. I'm like, lady, you're crazy. You've got a ton of experience. You work out every day. You've done bodybuilding competitively for 8 years. You're passionate about the industry. You speak English. You own a computer. Like, you can get this done. There's no problem. It's realistic. An example about sort of balancing that out and framing it up for somebody, like, let's say they're like, I want to go to Mexico in December and I got to lose 50 pounds. Okay, that's where I would be like, all right, well, healthy, sustainable, scientific, responsible weight loss is 1 to 2 pounds per week. So even if we did it at 2 pounds per week, losing 50 pounds would take 25 weeks. We only have 14. So it's not realistic for us to lose 50 pounds by December. We could lose 15 to 20. And I still think that would be a great start, and you'd learn all kinds of things and you'd be building successful habits, and you could go to Mexico and kind of celebrate that you've already lost 20 pounds. And then when you come back from Mexico, we could keep working out, right? And we could reach that 50-pound weight loss goal by like the summer of next year. But hey, let's be realistic. Like, please don't pay me $5,000 and hold me accountable to you losing 50 pounds by December. I refuse to be accountable to that. It's not healthy. That's kind of the difference, right? The other thing I say sometimes is like, oh, you want to lose 10 pounds in 2 months? Sure. From a timeline perspective, that's realistic. But you've told me that you're only willing to come and exercise once a week. You refuse to look at nutrition, and you have a really bad knee, and that knee is preventing you from running every day, which has typically been how you lose weight in the past. So you want to lose 10 pounds, but you're only going to come exercise once a week. You refuse to look at nutrition and you have pretty significant knee pain. All right, in that case, I'm telling you it's not realistic to lose 10 pounds. If you were willing to come to the gym 3 times a week and not run, but like do some corrective exercise on your knee and maybe use the bike instead, and if you were willing to talk about nutrition, and we'll find a plan that works for you, like I'm not going to dictate what has to happen, but like you are willing to have the conversation, then yes, it would be realistic, right? So part of it is like dictating the terms of like #science.
Yeah.
I would love to put on 20 pounds of muscle mass by like Saturday morning. Sorry, Logan, it's not right? So that's what that R is for. Like, be the subject matter expert and also maybe like have some real talk or boost them up, depending. Kind of depends on how they come at you. Okay? So you might want to, Yvette, for yourself, maybe just adjust the R paragraph a little bit to reflect what we talked about. The good news is, hey, it's realistic to become a personal trainer. No problem. That's realistic. Evaluate. You said, as I'm learning to be a personal trainer, I am and will receive feedback during in-class activities and the practicum. Yeah, that's actually really cool. Because you're going to get your evaluation from the instructors, from the manager, from the professionals that you're interested in working with. So that's cool. It's a little bit open-ended, and I think given the fact that it's a career goal, that's fine. On, say, a weight loss side of things, it could be like, let's say if we were to go back to Regan's goal, she's not going to evaluate herself, but she might be comfortable with stepping onto the scale backwards, letting me look at it, and then me just giving her feedback about, great, thank you very much, I have the information I need. Here's what we're doing with the program moving forward. So for Regan, for evaluation, it might be like, I'm satisfied that my trainer can evaluate my physical progress, but in terms of what's good for me, I don't want to know the number. Great. That would also be a way of evaluating.
Yeah.
A little bit more open-ended, but that makes sense. If anything, what it means is you're seeking feedback, you're seeking evaluation, and that's helpful.
Yeah.
Reward. I feel that my reward is getting to do some shadowing and obtaining my certification at the end of the 7 weeks.
That one I wasn't sure because I didn't know if that was me, like Renee, like that reward at the end of I'm going to be doing something for me, or if it was reward, like.
No, I actually,
do you know what I mean? Like the person, yeah. So I wasn't sure which one, yeah.
Like,
so that's why I put that one.
That's very like bodybuilding cut and dried. My reward is I get to go work out again and eat 200 grams of protein again tomorrow. Reward? Come on.
Not cake.
So, listen, let's imagine you get certified. You pass your exam. You get 92%. What are you going to do to celebrate? Are you going to go eat Billy Miner pie?
Yeah.
Are you going to have like a girls' weekend play? Are you going to go buy a new outfit? Like, reward yourself. Not the reward is I get to work really hard and try to change people's lives. That's what's attractive about the goal, but what's the reward? Like, be good to yourself. What do you want to do? Take a trip, buy a new
Go buy an outfit. Go buy an outfit.
Legitimate reward. So you can work on that one a little bit.
Okay. I will go buy an outfit. How's that?
There we go. I like it.
Yes.
And I mean, realistically, you could even make your reward. I'm going to go buy new black tights at Lululemon, which I will then wear because that's what the uniform policy is. But whatever, like go shopping and enjoy yourself and buy some Lululemon tights, whatever. But like, it's a legitimate reward.
Okay.
Yeah, like treat yourself legitimately.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. Sounds good. I will definitely do that.
All right, awesome. I'm going to give you one more example. We'll just create one more fitness example here so that we've Toko. Yeah, that's okay. I only asked for smart anyways. I wasn't requiring the again, because the smart part is great job today. I want to establish with you what we would be working on. Here's the smart part. Do you want to hire me? Yeah. Okay, cool. Here's the That's my theory behind it. Okay. So I'll give you one more example. We'll change it up. We'll make it a little bit more fitness oriented. Okay. So, the person that I met with today, his goal is to gain muscle. That's specific. I know what that looks like. How I'm going to measure it. We did the in-body body composition scale. He's currently at 56 pounds of skeletal muscle mass. We want to get to 61. So we're going to add 5 pounds of muscle mass. What's attractive about it? He's a size small t-shirt. And when he goes shopping with his buddies, they all buy mediums and he has to buy a small, and they make fun of him for it. So he's like, I just really want to be a medium because I want to be one of the guys and I want them to not make fun of me about it. And I want to feel like when we go somewhere together, I'm not like the skinny little pipsqueak. I'm like one of the guys. So for him, that's what's attractive about it, is like not sticking out like a skinny thumb. So that's his reason for doing it. Okay. Is it realistic? He is able to come to the gym every day. And what we identified is he really needs some help eating more. But he's really excited to learn how to log his food. And I've already suggested that after his workouts, we're going to give him a recipe for a protein shake. And he's like, he bought the chocolate flavor. He's going to buy almond milk at the grocery store, and he's going to like start doing that tomorrow. So given those circumstances, it's realistic. Okay. Is it timely? Okay. Well, we got to know what the pace of muscle gain is. We typically say 1 pound of muscle mass per month. So if he wants to gain pure 5 pounds of muscle mass, not just eat donuts and get bigger, right? But we say, hey, we want to have it take about 4 to 5 months. The reality is when you're brand new, it could happen faster. But if anything, I like a slightly longer timeline, and then I like to deliver the job sooner. He's willing to look at a hypertrophy program over the next 4 to 5 months. So that's the timely part, is by October, November, December, January. By like February next year, he's like, I'm going to be buying mediums. Okay, great. So that's the SMART goal. He likes it. We're going to sign up. I said, okay, great. Listen, in terms of evaluating it, muscle gain happens a little slower. So we're going to measure your in-body again every month. So every time we get to the 30-day mark, we're going to redo that measurement. And if we see increases in lean body mass, if we see increases in total body water, those would be really good indications that we're starting to gain muscle mass. The reward, every month when we do our measurements, I know how hard I'm going to be pushing you when you're doing these workouts, because we've got to create that sort of hormone response in the body that's going to drive muscle mass. So every time we measure, if you've gained that pound of muscle mass for that period of time, you're going to go book a massage, a sports massage, and you're going to get like a deep tissue massage. It's going to be a little bit sore, but every month, if we're doing that hard work, you're going to get a massage and it's going to feel so good. Like it's going to hurt so good, but that's the reward. And he's like, okay, cool. I like it. So that's kind of an example of like the steps. Okay. Also, I usually let them suggest the reward, and then I just make sure the reward doesn't like sabotage their goals. Right? So if it's like I'm trying to lose weight, and if I lose 2 pounds in the week, I'm going to go eat 9,000 calories at Pizza Hut. Let's pick a different reward, right? So that's kind of the goal setting process. So the question about all of that is, between building rapport and asking open-ended questions and starting to really listen and understand what somebody wants, and then hop over the workout part, because that's what we got to learn. but then coming back and setting a SMART goal, asking for some feedback about the process. Can you see how that's a better experience than what starting at the gym on your own would normally look like? Like, are we sold that, like, you know what, that's great service, that's going to help me help people? It's kind of the point. And then when we think about the amygdala and the cingulate and the ventral striatum and the basal ganglia, right? When we think about all that stuff, all we're going to do with that is give them a little bit, something that they can be successful with, champion the hell out of any progress that they make, and then give them a little bit more, and then work to implement that into more of a habit, champion the hell out of them for that, and then give them a little bit more, and understand that relapse is part of the process. So if they have a little bit of a relapse and we say, okay, cool, how do we learn from that? How do we get back on track? And then we champion the hell out of the fact that they got back on track. Like, that's what we do with the knowledge of behavior change. It's just how we coach. So then everything else we talk about over the next 7-8 weeks is just, how do I coach? How do I train? How do I coach? How do I train? Because they're two slightly different things, coaching and training. But that's what this whole first week was designed to set us up with. Okay? All right. I'm interested in hearing from each of you one big takeaway that you've had from this week, something you've learned, something that surprised you, something that you're already now thinking about your own life or fitness goals and doing in a different way. So I'll get something from each of you. And it might be, oh my God, studying is hard, because COVID was like Netflix and hang out with my friends, and like, holy crap, I'm going to have to like buckle down. And that's my takeaway, is like, this shit is serious, whatever. Okay. So Asif, I'm going to come to you first, man. What's your takeaway from week 1?
Yeah, for week 1, for me, is like definitely the interviews. You know, how to get into the head of a client and convince them to work out and make them believe that they can achieve the goals they have been looking for. Like, putting that confidence in that, it's very important. For me, it's like, I train myself. I know what's good for me. How should I set up my nutrition program, my workout program, but I don't know what's gonna work for other people. What kind of work's gonna work for other people? What kind of program gonna work for other people? So this kind of things is very important to do that assessment when you're working with several person, like in a different time. So that's my takeaway.
Great. That's awesome. Thank you. Regan, how about you? Unmute yourself.
Sorry, I had to tell my brother and his friend to settle down a little bit.
Yeah, settle down.
Okay, I found the styles of people very interesting, like the director, analyst, amiable, expressive. It was really interesting to find that I was the only analyst in the class, and now I have to learn to communicate better with people and actually listen to people's backstories instead of let's just get down to business and like do what we have to do.
Yeah, for sure. That's cool. That's a cool takeaway. So you've got some strengths around the science and the numbers and the programming, and that's actually good because people are going to expect that as a trainer. But maybe what you're going to have to practice a little bit more is like the softening up and telling some fun stories and asking questions that to you maybe seem irrelevant, but now you've learned are important for someone who needs to feel more comfortable. So yeah, that's a good takeaway. Awesome. Okay, Annika, you're up.
Hi. I really enjoyed learning about all the different personalities as well. Yeah. And yeah, school's a lot with having a new puppy and trying to work around plans with friends, but I like it.
Do you find it's helpful to have some scheduled things to show up for?
Sorry, my headphones cut out there.
Do you find it's helpful to have some scheduled things to show up for?
Yes, I do enjoy it a lot. And now instead of going to the gym after work, since I can't when I have school, I've been getting up early and going before. which has been awesome because I'm not a morning person. So yeah.
That's really cool. Good. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Chandra, what have you picked up in week 1?
Well, I also started my kinesiology courses at BIU. So it's been a bit of a juggle, but what I'm really kind of excited about is I'm taking a human wellness class, and I think it's going to work really amazingly with this personal training certification as well. I think I'm going to be able to take a lot of what I'm learning in my human wellness class and use it with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. How many classes do you teach per week?
I think I teach 4 at Fitness World and 3 on my own.
Awesome. All right. So you clearly get your exercise in, no question, right?
I do, but when I'm not, I'm pretty sedentary.
Okay.
And I don't have a great nutrition. I don't have great nutrition right now. I blame it on COVID, but I'm trying to like claw out of it.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the challenges whenever you're busier, right? Like actually eating properly takes a little bit of planning and preparation time. And sometimes that's what people don't realize. They're just like, no, I got to be better. And I'm like, no, you actually have to have a plan. Because if you're busy, you'll eat what's there. And part of the plan is putting what's there so that you actually want to be eating it, right?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Well, you know what? All of this is relatable, right? Having a job, being in school, like all of this stuff. When you figure out how to manage it on your own, you then figure out strategies that you can share with clients and be like, hey, this worked really well for me. Do you want to try it? So that's good. You're learning in a very practical way. Awesome. All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Elko. Week 1.
Oh yeah, got it. So week 1, I think it includes from Saturday to today for me. So I learned a lot, but the biggest shock I had was I was doing dead bug wrong for so long. And you know that, right? Because you taught me.
You weren't doing it wrong. We just found ways to help you do it even better.
Okay, that sounds good. So what I'm doing now is when I go to gym, and we also learned how to teach foam rolling. Yeah. So as I do Olympic lifting, I always, put foam roller here and then, foam roll upper back, because sometimes I'm like imbalanced. So this is stiff, so I have to do this side more or something like that. So when I go to gym, I'm doing both dead bug and also foam rolling, but I also started to like pretending I'm teaching. So when I go to gym, I'm also practicing teaching, which is really good practice for me, I think. So that's really a great takeaway this week, practical. Yeah,
that's good. Practicing being able to say and explain it to somebody else. That's great.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Oh, and one thing I learned I didn't know was, like I said, I do a lot of foam rolling this side, but I didn't know was I could do it, I could put it on the wall and I could do like this, which was, I never knew before. So I thank you for that.
Good. Okay. Excellent. Mm-hmm. Okay, Renee. Unmute. There we go.
Hi, got it. Okay, so yeah, I'm really impressed with the course content so far. Like I've taken a couple different courses, and none of them have touched on these social work skills, like the trans-theoretical model of change and the motivational interviewing. Like it's fabulous. I'm so happy I found this course. But I'm just I'm a bit nervous about actually applying. Like I know this stuff, but it's a different setting that I'm applying it in. Yep. So I'm just not, I'm not feeling very confident right now because I'm not sure how, because I'm used to having deep, serious conversations with people. And I'm not really used to selling myself, right? Selling the experience, being enthusiastic, right? So I guess, yeah, it's gonna take some time to learn this stuff.
Well, the good news is it's only week 1.
Yeah.
And we get to repeat and practice the formula a lot. So I think the benefit is you actually have the skills that sometimes people find challenging to implement because they don't have them. You've got practice in a lot of stuff. And the one thing I would say just for all of you is sort of the idea that a personal trainer has to be like, no pain, no gain, like boot camp drill sergeant, or, oh my God, you can do it, way to go. Like those are just stereotypes. The best way for you to be a personal trainer is yourself. So you're going to be someone that talks a little bit more. You're going to be someone who uses soft skills. And then what you're going to add is your philosophy and your beliefs and your programming style and all that other stuff. So you'll have time to practice that. You'll have time to build some confidence on that as we learn more and more things. Week 1 is motivation system, and then after that it's science, and then it's exercise, and then it's program, right? So like there's going to be lots of different contents. I'd be a little worried if you weren't, like if after week 1 you're like, I know it all, see you later, you know? So I think it's good that you start off feeling like there's some good content here, and then we just keep building on the process. Like basically week 1 is the first 10 minutes of the first session. And then we're going to fill in the rest of the minutes and the rest of the sessions as we carry on. So you're doing great. Just keep showing up. Cool. All right, Yvette, coming to you.
All right, hi. Well, as I said earlier in my little homework there, that studying has been pretty challenging. Just find it a little bit overwhelming because I haven't done it in so long. And computers and stuff like that, I'm not very good at. So I had my daughter and my son help me with Zoom and all this stuff. But I found that being in bodybuilding, the coaching is very different than possibly being a trainer. So looking at all the content this week, it's really interesting because I have not had, in like 9 years of being coached, this experience at all. Like, and I have enjoyed being coached, but this is so much better. Like, but I know that it's different. You know, they've got the coaching for bodybuilding, but I'm just really excited to really put this, like learn it and really put it into practice with people, with clients. Yeah.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but part of the sport of bodybuilding is, and I'm going to be aggressive on purpose, but it's like, shut up, your feelings don't matter. Lift this, eat this.
Pretty much.
Repeat. You don't get to have variety. You don't get to eat chocolate cake. Like this is going to get stages.
It's very strict, very, yeah.
And that's fine. That works for some people. There's people that do this for years and years and years and years, right? Imagine though, being able to take the knowledge and the experience of that, but like softening it and humanizing it just for people who want to get stronger and leaner and healthier, but don't necessarily want to stand on stage wearing a sequin bikini. Like it gives you a skill as an athlete in that sport to be more widely relatable than, like, listen, I've worked with trainers who are bodybuilders and they limit themselves to the people they can work with because they're so hard and formulaic and emotional and non-relational, right?
And I could see that happening for sure.
Yeah. So you'll sort of have two ends of the spectrum and you'll be able to apply what makes sense to the person in front of you. And ultimately that's actually going to be what helps people, is the ability to sort of balance it out and get specific to the person in front of you. I think because bodybuilding is a little bit more known, I think some people want to do it and take it on, but it's not actually the best for them. And then maybe that's where they struggle a little bit and they you know, crazy 16-week prep, and then they can't reverse diet properly, and then they end up with all these problems, right?
All these weight gains and everything else,
fit for them. So it's cool that you're going to be able to do a little bit of both. That's great.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm excited. Yeah.
All right. And the other thing I will say around technology is we are starting to use technology more, right? We sign people in with a contactless app and we send them programming via computer. So like even what you're experiencing around just trying to learn through a more technological platform is going to give you some of the skills that you need to then be able to help people understand how to take advantage of technology to get a better training experience.
Yeah.
That's good. All the discomfort,
sure.
all the out of our comfort zone stuff, it's relatable across the entire, everything going on. So it's great.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, for me, takeaway on week one with this group is I love how motivated and proactive you are. This is now sort of my 4th round doing stuff that has an online component. And I'm super digging that you're reviewing and asking for extra videos, and like even the online component, having a live component at the same time has been sort of fun for me. So, you know, from a Kaizen 6 perspective, I really like, Toko, when you ask for a video, because I have it, I can give it to you. I'm trying to be supportive but not overwhelm you. So if you want more, ask for it. But I'm not going to give you 9,000 things because sometimes that's overwhelming. I don't do that with a client, not necessarily going to do it with a student. But the group and the chat and sort of the little collaborations that I'm starting to see, like you guys are going to take the ferry together and you guys are going to go to the gym together and stuff like that. To me, that's awesome. So I'm really happy to see sort of how this blended approach is going. But I remain open to feedback. If there's something you need, in order to feel like you're getting more out of the process, please let me know. And remember, those of you that aren't showing up for live classes, you do have the opportunity to set up something like this with me one-on-one if you need it, if you think that would help you. Because sometimes it's just a matter of like, I have some questions, but I don't want to like slow down the group, so I'm not going to ask. But remember, you sort of have access to one-on-one support as well. But again, ask for it if you need it. I'm not going to force it down your throat if you feel like you're managing fine. So there you go. All right, coming at you after this is a follow along core workout. So if you want to do it right now, because you were planning on being on the class call until 8, great, do it right now. And if you're like, oh my God, thank God, I can take the dog for a walk, I can do some laundry, I can make some food, that's fine. Do it tomorrow. Reminder, there's no class on Saturday because I'm teaching a class here. So it does give you some time to either catch up or get ahead. We are moving into science content next week. So I always find, to speak to sort of what you were saying, I always find when it comes to the science, if you've watched the videos and or read the textbook ahead of time, you've heard the words once, you're possibly a little bit confused, but then when you show up and I repeat things, then you're like, oh, okay, now I get it. And so that's kind of a nice way to take advantage of not having class for a couple of days, is like still sit down and go through some stuff. And then we'll be able to put the pieces together next week. Okay?
So we don't have a class on Saturday, right?
There is no class on Saturday.
Okay,
I will be here, but if you show up, you're going to be thrown into the mix with like 50 people.
Okay.
And like a very intense 2-day certification, and it might scare you.
Okay.
I would encourage you to take the day, get a workout in, watch some videos.
Yeah.
You may decide to come to a certification like this in the future, but I would suggest you'd get more out of it if you finish your PT certification first.
And so you're coming to the island next Saturday?
95% yes.
Okay.
Just waiting to confirm that. But yeah, save the date. My
Okay.
plan is to be in Nanaimo on Saturday and just come and do some stuff with you.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. There you go. Come hang out with you and say hi to Jake and get on that glue drive machine, because you guys have one and not all the clubs.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
But yeah, as soon as I confirm, I'll give you a time. I'd just be driving up from Victoria in the morning, so it won't be super early. I like to sort of let the morning rush at the gym finish, but we'll do some stuff midday on Saturday. 95%. Okay?
Awesome.
All right, awesome. I'm sending you a core workout. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you know where to find me. In the meantime, happy Thursday. Great job on week 1. And we'll see you all soon next week.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.